Central Luzon State University. We are.
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 Sex Fam.
We are. Sex Fam.
This is PNU Chemical Society. PNU ChemSoc envisions a strong, self-directing, dynamic, and conscientious group of chemistry students. We continue to commit to upholding excellence in the study and application of chemistry in everyday life. Through various activities, we strive to engage in society to bridge the gap between the different sectors of the PNU student body, which allows vitalization and further empowerment to this certain field of science.
We welcome you on your journey with our beloved Inang Pamantasan. Unleash yourself from the bounds of wise and take on a challenge. Win life, future guro ng Kapnayan. Be one of us. This is PNU Chemical Society, where reactions go places.
Hello there, students! Welcome to the Bachelor of Applied Science and Laboratory Technology. The BAS-LT. The Bachelor of Applied Science in Laboratory Technology is a 4-year baccalaureate degree program designed to provide students with an education in the field of chemical science and laboratory techniques on quality control, product analysis, and product development. The TUP Chemical Society. TUP Chemical Society, pertained to as TUP ChemSoc, is an academic and non-profit school organization in TUP Manila College of Science, which has been serving its bona fide BAS-LT colleagues for 3 decades since 1983. Its main goal is to promote the appreciation and practices of chemistry and the application of sciences inside and outside the university, as well as create professional chemical technicians for the country. TUP Chemical Society under a national organization. The Philippine Association of Chemistry Students Incorporated, also known as PACS Inc., is a national, non-stock, non-profit organization geared towards the awareness and improvement of chemistry in the Philippines that is partnered with TUP Chemical Society and other school organizations. Its population is composed of undergraduate chemists, biochemists, chemical engineers, and other courses that are tied together by chemistry. It is the student-based arm of a larger umbrella organization, the Philippine Federation of Chemistry Societies, PFCS. Presenting to you the TUP Chemical Society officers. You may follow us on our social media for more information and updates.
The Central Luzon State University, one of the renowned and prestigious institutions of higher learning in the country, is the lead agency of the Muñoz Science Community and the seat of Central Luzon Agriculture, Aquatic and Resources, Research and Development Consortium, or CLARDEC. It started as a farm school, the Central Luzon Agricultural School, or CLAS, on April 12, 1907, wherein the students learned the rudiments of better farming methods, agricultural mechanics, and homemaking arts. CLAS was converted into the Central Luzon Agricultural College, or CLAC, on December 31, 1950, the first state institution in the country to offer a 4-year curriculum for training teachers of vocational agriculture, and eventually became known as the mother of vocational agricultural schools in the country. CLAC became the Central Luzon State University on June 18, 1964 by virtue of Republic Act No. 4067. As embodied in its Enabling Act, the university shall primarily give professional and technical training in agriculture and mechanic arts, besides providing advanced instruction and promoting research in literature, philosophy, the sciences, technology, and arts. To date, CLSU remains as one of the premier institutions of agriculture in Southeast Asia for its breakthrough researches in aquatic culture, ruminant, crops, orchard, and water management, living through its vision of becoming a world-class national research university for science and technology in agriculture and allied fields. Additionally, it is also the first comprehensive state university to undergo institutional accreditation and is declared cultural property of the Philippines due to its high historical, cultural, academical, and agricultural importance to the nation. The university is designated by the Commission on Higher Education National Agriculture and Fisheries Education System, or CHED-NAFES, as National University College of Agriculture, or NUCA, and National University College of Fisheries, or NUCF. More so, CHED designated CLSU as Center of Excellence in Agriculture, Center of Excellence in Agricultural Engineering, Center of Excellence in Biology, Center of Excellence in Fisheries, Center of Excellence in Teacher Education, and Center of Excellence in Veterinary Medicine. The Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquaculture, Forestry, and Natural Resources Research and Development, Department of Science and Technology, or PICARD-DOST, as Center of Research Excellence in Small Ruminants, designated by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, as Regional Integrated Coastal Resources Management Center. Lastly, CLSU is designated as the Model Agritourism Site for Luzon. CLSU is composed of different offices and colleges. The Office of Vice President for Academic Affairs. It is composed of all curricular, co- and extracurricular, including research, extension, and production activities of the the Research, Extension, and Training Office. The RET's primary concern is the generation and validation of new knowledge, information, and technologies, and the dissemination and commercialization of same to sustain agro-industrialization in the countryside. The University Business Affairs Program Office. The office manages and operates various income-generating projects and developing entrepreneurial capabilities of faculty, staff, and students, and other development partners. The University Administration Office. The admin office's main function is to equip the institution with the needed human, expertise, skills, and systems vital to the operation of all aspects of services in support to the functions and activities of the academic, research, extension, training, and production program. The powerful arms in attaining the vision, mission, and philosophy of the university. The College of Agriculture. The mission of the college is to produce highly trained and responsive graduates and shall generate appropriate agriculture technologies to meet the challenges of the new millennium. The College of Arts and Social Sciences. The college focuses on the studies of human society, language, literature, and communication that empowers and contributes to national development. The College of Science. The college aims to provide quality education in sciences and mathematics through progressive and innovative instruction, research, and extension to produce competent graduates responsive to a dynamic domestic and international environment. The College of Business Administration and Accountancy. The management philosophy of the college is to help sustainable agro-industrial development that leads to the improvement of the quality of life of the people through quality education in business entrepreneurship. The College of Education. The college shall develop quality teachers in the elementary and secondary levels of education for people empowerment, global competitiveness, and sustainable human resource development. The College of Engineering. The college aims to provide relevant and quality training for students in engineering and related fields consistent with the National Development Trust. The College of Fisheries. The college is tasked to provide quality education in fisheries and to fill the need for trained manpower and contribute to sustainable aquaculture development. The College of Home Science and Industry. The program of the college is geared towards the development of self-reliant individuals who will be able to contribute to the advancement of the family, community, industries, and the nation. The College of Veterinary Science and Medicine. The college envisions to become a model veterinary institution dedicated to countryside development by providing excellent veterinary education that will produce graduates equipped with technical, entrepreneurial, managerial, and leadership skills necessary for optimum animal production. The CLSU Distance, Open, and Transnational University. It provides education opportunities via degree and non-degree programs to individuals aspiring for higher education or for improved qualifications, and also to avail of the non-traditional modes of instruction. The University International Affairs Office develops and coordinates the international relations and activities of the university. The Office of Admissions, responsible in the admission, registration, and records of students. Office of Student Affairs, the center of information, activities, and services relative to the needs of students. The University Graduate Program Office, it provides assistance and ensures coordination among colleges offering graduate programs. University Library provides services relative to the library needs of the student, faculty members, and other clientele. Information Systems Institute promotes the effective use of information and communication technology in the different functions of the university. Institute of Sports, Physical Education, and Recreation promotes the recreation, social, and ethical values derived from various sports. Institute for Climate Change and Environmental Management provides environmental education and training related to environmental studies, issues, and concerns. CLSU Testing and Evaluation Center serves as a centralized venue for psycho-educational testing, performance evaluation, and academic research in support of the academic program. Center for Educational Research Development Services, venue where human and material resources of the university converge to produce and make available multimedia learning resources. Center for Central Luzon Studies, the manifestation of the role that the CLSU plays as a regional university, that is, of fostering better understanding of the society in which it operates. Center for Tropical Mushroom Research and Development, a venue for technology development, research, and extension on tropical mushroom production and processing, and byproduct utilization. Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, an educational assessment scheme which recognizes knowledge, skills, and prior learning obtained by any individual from non-formal and informal education experiences. Natural Service Training Program, responsible in carrying out academic policies of the university insofar as they affect the NSTP. Freshwater Aquaculture Center, a multidisciplinary research unit of the university which shall be responsible for aquaculture and fisheries research and development. Philippine Carabao Center at CLSU helps improve the general well-being of rural farming communities through carabao genetic improvement and technologies. Small Ruminant Center develops technologies, produce quality stocks, and promote the goat and sheep industry. Ramon Magsaysay Center for Agricultural Resources and Environment Studies serves as a continuing source of appropriate technologies and information on sustainable environment and agricultural resources management. Land and Water Resources Management Center provides the leadership and direction towards the rational utilization of the finite groundwater and surface water resources. Animal Production Office includes all projects involving poultry, livestock, and fish. Crop Production Office includes all projects pertaining to crops and agricultural product processing. Commercial and Business Development Office includes income-generating projects categorized as commercial and business services. Now, for more than 100 years, CLSU stands proud as one of the more renowned and prestigious higher education institutions in the country. Then and now, the university is a shining example of an institution that has been dedicating itself to the task of producing responsible and committed human resources and providing services with an indelible mark of excellence.
The Department of Chemistry is one of the renowned programs at CLSU, and it has been able to equip the students with the necessary skills as it was ranked 8th best university in terms of undergraduate program in chemistry. Since 1986, the BS Chemistry program was able to produce plenty of globally competitive students who make a name in the world by scoring laudable achievements in the field of academe, forensic, industry, and research.
Naitulong ng Chemistry Department for my almost 10 years na career sa petroleum industry, of course, given the technical aspect of chemistry principles, techniques, and background that are used for method development, data verification, and instrument troubleshooting. I think the BS Chemistry program is an overall process that trained us to work hard, strive for excellence, discipline ourselves, and even to the tiniest detail of cleanliness and orderliness are 5S. For me, those knowledge that turn into skills greatly equipped and help me to adapt in this industry.
I previously worked at the Philippine Rice Research Institute as a researcher and at the CLSU Department of Chemistry as a chemistry instructor. I am currently pursuing my master's degree in chemistry here in the USA, specifically at the North Carolina A&T State University. Malaki yung naitulong sa akin ng CLSU, especially the Department of Chemistry, especially sa aking career sa academe. The knowledge and insights, specifically on the theories, concepts, and application of chemistry, really gave me the confidence to share this learning sa mga estudyante.
I am now a police major in the Philippine National Police, designated as a forensic chemist in the PNP Crime Laboratory. And I'm deeply honored to be given the opportunity to express my gratitude to the Department of Chemistry for giving me not only the lessons and lectures that I needed in this career, but also the experiences to help me survive and be able to accomplish my task and the challenges of my chosen career.
The CLSU Chemistry Department has been instrumental to what I am today as a researcher. This department built in me a strong foundation in chemistry, which helped me overcome the challenges in real work scenarios both in the Philippines and abroad. The unwavering support I received when I was there as a student and also as a teacher allowed me to grow and expand my horizons in the field of chemistry. And I'm so thankful for that.
CLSU Chemical Society, mostly known as CHEMSO, is a college-based non-profit organization of BS Chemistry students in Central Luzon State University that was founded on August 24, 1983. CLSU Chemical Society aims to provide educational, socio-cultural, and intellectual services to the people in whom the organization is pledged to serve. It also seeks to promote chemistry among students inside and outside the university, build camaraderie among its members, and develop the students' potentials and skills in different endeavors. To fulfill the organization's visions and objectives, various activities such as free tutorial services and dorm tutorials are being held. These activities are open to all CLSU students, where the members of the society share their knowledge in chemistry with the students of CLSU. Its main objective is to help students who are having a hard time in their chemistry subjects understand the topics easily. They also host chemistry competitions that contribute to the academic development of students by honing their abilities in understanding and analyzing chemistry-related topics. Patichem is a quiz bee event for CLSU students which promotes both camaraderie between pairs and sportsmanship among other pairs of students. Zonal Chemistry Congress includes thesis competition, Philippine National Chemistry Olympiad, a national-level event. In the latter, CHEMSO serves as the regional elimination coordinators for high school students from Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, and Cordillera Administrative Region. Moreover, The organization hosts the on-the-spot chemistry poster-making competition, regional elimination for a national-level poster-making competition for grade 5 to grade 7 students. As a chemistry-related organization, CHEMSO prompts interest in chemistry using kaalaman sa Kapnayan, where chemistry facts, elements, and current issues and events are posted on their official Facebook page. We also conduct seminars like Tuhan, which is an event to guide LBS chemistry students about different fields they can pursue after completing their bachelor's degree. Another is Laboratory Safety Guidelines, a webinar that aims to educate CLSU students who are taking up chemistry laboratory subjects about precautions, rules, and things that they must follow inside the laboratory. Then, the Nanotechnology webinar that aims to promote the uprising material science at CLSU Nanotechnology R&D facility. Chem Magic promotes not only chemistry as an interesting field, but also as an interesting and fun degree to senior high school students. CHEMSO also values serving the people in the community. CHEMSO Gives Back is an event that aims to share their blessings and knowledge with different communities that need such the most. During this pandemic, CHEMSO conducted CHEMSO Cares, where they collected letters and message cards for the COVID-19 patients and frontliners, which aims to encourage the patients and express their gratitude to the frontliners for their hard work. The camaraderie and unity among its members are practiced by conducting activities like Chemustahan, an event for the members to relax from their academic activities and form bonds with the other members. For more than 3 decades, CLSU CHEMSO continues to pursue the quest of giving quality services to the people, to the country to which they are pledged to serve.
Yan, good afternoon po sa ating lahat. While we are waiting for others to join, we are kindly reminding everyone to observe proper etiquette. First, let us turn off our microphones when not suggested to speak to avoid interruptions. Next, avoid sending unnecessary and inappropriate messages to maintain the formality of our event. Then, let us secure our internet connection so we can witness the whole program at full experience. In addition to proper etiquette, reminder lang po na there will be a code given throughout the webinar that will be required in filling out the evaluation form later. Last, we are reminding everyone to change their name with the format of organization name followed by their name as seen in the chat box. Thank you, and in just a few minutes, mag-start na po tayo.
Yes, furthermore, a reminder pala guys, kindly fill out the attendance form. Our facilitators will send the attendance link sa Zoom chat box as well as sa YouTube. So, mag-fill out mo lang po muna tayo. Again, sabi nung partner ko kanina, yung sa name conventions natin, mag-rename na kayo guys. Kasi para mas madali namin kayong matawag mamaya pag gusto namin kayong tawagin. So, sino ba yung mga participants natin nandito, Adrian? Ayan, so meron dito, andito yung mga taga Bicol University, sa TUP, and CSU, PNU, and syempre yung mga CLSU. And to add, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of our guests, pati yung dalawang speakers natin today, si Dr. Ticonato and si Sir John Patrick de la Cruz. Ayan, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon po.
Ayan, so I guess pwede tayo mag-start, Adrian. Yan. Well, again, good afternoon, everyone. We are all gathered here today for a very fun and very informative event. Ngayon, when we say the term superhero, ano ba yung mga usual na pumapasok na words? Or saang mga words siya pwedeng ma-relate? Of course, kapag sinabing superhero, iisipin natin agad, syempre, may superpowers sila. Be it heat vision, freeze breath, invisibility, flying, ano ba? Yung mga ganun. Pero yung mga superhero na na-invite natin today, wala sila ng mga ganyan eh. Alam mo ba, Adrian, yung sa ano? Yung napanood mo ni Justice League?
Hindi pa po, pero medyo related or nakakapakinggan na po.
Oo. Meron kasi yung ano doon, clip doon, yung parang ire-recruit ni Bruce Wayne si Barry Allen. Parang i-recruit niya tapos tinanong siya ni Barry Allen. What's your superpower again? Tapos sabi ni Bruce Wayne, I'm rich. So hindi pala kailangan may superpowers Kasi alam mo, Adrian, para maging superhero, hindi mo naman kasi talaga need ng superpowers eh. Like yung mga male speakers natin today, alam nyo kasi, parang adobo lang yan. If you want to do good for others, you take initiatives, may confidence, may tiwala ka sa abilities, tsaka yung own competence mo, pwede mo na tawagin, pwede mo na i-consider yung sarili mo na superhero ka doon. Huwag niyo pansinin yung adobo. Walang pa lang yung kanina. Share ko lang. Gagalit na ibang participant natin. Ano ba sinasabi nitong host na ito kanina pa? Gusto na natin mag-start. Sige na, start na natin. Ngayon, para saan ba kasi yung event na to? And para siya kanino? Well, like each and every one of us na nag-decide na mag-take up ng science-related courses. Ang question ngayon kasi, ano na yung next na gagawin natin after graduation? Like, ano yung mga career path options na pwede nating i-pursue after? Like I've said sa mga participants natin here today, as well as yung mga nanonood sa YouTube, yung mga YouTube participants natin, ilan ba itong nandito sa Zoom? Ayan, meron tayong 107 and counting. Ayan, tapos yung mga nanonood pa sa YouTube, tapos sa may Facebook Live natin, kung naka-Facebook Live tayo. Consider yourselves lucky, guys, dahil naka-attend kayo today and have a chance to hear from our male speakers who are notable in their field of expertise. And with that, I am Joffrey Patungan.
And I am Adrian Cuartero, your host for today. Yes, tama nga yung sinabi mo dyan, partner. Yung webinar nga na ito is very important kasi dito natin mawi-witness yung different career paths of being a science-related graduate. And this kind of event would allow us to see ahead of what our future might look like. Tayong lahat with the help of our superhero speakers sa kung anong path ang ating naistahakin in the future. Ayan guys, so handa na ba kayong ma-meet si Superman at si Batman na mag-guide sa atin towards our future career paths? Ayan, mukhang excited na ang lahat. So with that po, without further ado, to all the guest speakers, faculties, and dear participants, it is our pleasure to welcome you all here in our webinar entitled Men of Science, the first part of the webinar series CHEMSCIENTIA, a talk about journey. But before we formally begin this webinar, let us all feel the presence of the Lord through a prayer to be led by Lay Von Ramirez, the business manager of BSCSC, to be followed by the singing of the national anthem.
May we feel the presence of our Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity to gather here today in the conduct of this very important event. From the spokesperson to the faculty members, to the facilitator, to our dear participants, we ask for your guidance and blessing for the success of this event in achieving its primary purposes as well as its significance to our lives. In your divine agenda, steer our intention to align with your righteous will. Remind us of your faithful provisions when our efforts fails us or fall short. May all the glory go upon you when we reach the finish line and climb over the benchmark. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Ayan, now to deliver his opening remarks, also one of our superheroes, may I call on the ever-supportive, a man of action, the CLSU BS Chemistry Student Council Advisor, Mr. Charleo S. Zapanta. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. Naririnig ba
Yes, sir. Loud and
ako?
clear.
Louder? So, in behalf of the Department of Chemistry of Central Luzon State University, I welcome everyone for this webinar. And as you listen, siyempre sa ating mga speakers, you should take note sa kanilang mga sinasabi. Though, siyempre, maaaring you have laid out your plans already, no? Sa mga nais nyong maging or mga line of work na gusto nyong puntahan sa buhay. Baka nasa isip nyo na hindi naman ito yung line of work na gusto ko. Gusto nyo lang dito or mag-attend for the sake of certificate. But I assure you na yung mga factors and formulas for success ay may mga mapupulot kayo as our speakers unfolds their journey kung paano sila naging successful or paano sila naging supermen na sa kanilang mga careers ngayon. There are great men out there, but these two speakers for today are supermen. Pwede nyo silang gawing admiration sa inyong mga career na sinusundan. Though yun nga, kahit iba pa yung kanilang line of work sa ninanais nyong line of work. Pero maaari din magbago yung isip ninyo sa gugustuhin nyong line of work. So yun lang at maraming salamat sa pag-attend.
Thank you very much po, Sir Charlea, for that very warm and welcoming message. So talaga nga naman ang webinar na ito ay malaki ang tulong sa ating lahat na hindi sigurado sa kung anong landas ang ating tatahakin after graduate. Yan. Bago tayo mag-start, magtanong po muna tayo, Kuya Joff, sa mga bisita natin from other universities.
Oh yes, maganda idea. Ito, dito parang may nakikita ako sa mga taga CSU. From CSU CS, andito po ba si Miss Ira Joy Abana?
Meron po.
Ayun, good afternoon, Ira. Pwede ba namin malaman, can you introduce yourselves to us muna pala? Course and year, ganun. That's from anong university?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ira Joy Abana po from Cagayan State University Chemical Society, fourth-year student po.
Ayan, fourth year din pala si Ira, so same year kami. Ayun, so, question namin sa iyo is, kamusta lang kami? Kamusta ba yung academics diyan ba sa university niyo is nag-i-issue na ba ng full face-to-face? Ayun, can you give us details? Ganun. And bago pala, wait lang, pwede ba kaya bang mag-turn on ng video mo? Makita naman ikaw ng ating, ng ibang participants natin.
Sige po.
Asan si
Wait lang po.
O pa-spotlight daw si Miss Ira. Ayun. Ayun, question. Ayun. So, kamusta naman yung academics muna?
So, ayun po, sa CSU po is full face-to-face. Sinarado yung wait lang po. Full face-to-face na po. So, ayan po, full face-to-face na po kami. But every TTH lang po kami kasi yun lang po yung schedule na face-to-face sa amin. Ano pa po yung isang question?
Dahil kinamusta namin yung sa yung sa academics mo, tapos yung ayun pala, sa academic side naman. Kumusta naman yung mga academic responsibilities natin diyan? Graduating pa grad na waiting.
Yes, sana. Ayun po, medyo stress lang sa thesis namin. malapit na rin ang defense namin. So,
ayun, tama. Yes, yun. So, good luck Ira sa thesis na defense mo. Ayun, and I hope yung webinar natin today is kahit paano is makapagbigay ng maging eye-opener siya, makapagbigay siya ng insight sa'yo sa kung anong career options, kung anong career path option yung tatahakin mo. Adrian, baka may nakikita ka dyan sa CLSU, magtawag ka nga.
Andito po ba si Miss wait lang po. Sa first year, magtawag nga tayo sa first year. Andito po si Mariel.
No, si Mariel ng CLSU.
Freshman ng Chem. Kung wala naman po, si Ken Pagaduan na lang po ng Environmental Science.
Yan, dito ba si Ken? Ken, diyan ka ba? Kindly, paki-on na lang yung mic and kung kaya is pati.
Hello po, good morning po. Good afternoon po pala, sorry.
Kagigising lang ni Ken.
Wait lang po, wait lang.
Nag-ready pa si Ken. Ayun, ito kasi ganito kasi yun. Sige, okay lang, take your time. Yung ganito kasi Adrian, yung hirap sa mga ganitong online webinar. Sana makontak na talaga natin siya in a face-to-face basis. Rin parang makikita mo talaga yung restriction kapag online yung event. Nakakamiss naman umattend sa mga webinar. Kasi may mga pamirienda dun eh. Pero okay lang sa mga ganito, walang refreshments sa pamirienda. Hindi. Pero yung feeling kasi na online na face-to-face basis yung a-attendan mong event. Talagang malayo, sobrang layo niya sa mga online.
Yes, and feel yung interaction talaga within the host and the audience nga.
Wait lang po.
Hindi, sige, okay lang. Magkatultara lang kami dito. Hintayin natin, sige. Sige. Sige, hanap i-pang-third na lang natin na interview. Sige, hanap ka ulit Adrian na isa bang hinintay natin. Sige.
Wait lang po.
Ay, hindi, sige, dito. Sa TUP tayo. So from TUPCS, andito po ba si Miss Jade Erica T. Burgos? Good afternoon. Nagugulat yung iba pagkatawag eh. And, good afternoon, Jade. Hindi Ken eh. Tagal mo eh. Si Jade, available din ba for interview si Jade from TUP CS? Unmute natin siya. Ay. Sige, balik tayo kay Ken. Ayan, Ken, it's your time na.
It's your time to shine na.
Oo.
Hello po, good afternoon po.
Ken, video naman, yung kaya ba? Para makita ka naman ibang participants din natin. Bawal shy type dito. Oo.
Wait lang po, starting po yung cam.
Ay, sige. Ayan, si Ken. So, good afternoon, Ken. Pakilala ko muna.
So, I am Ken Francis L. Pagaduan. I am from the Bachelor of Science, Environmental Science, and I am part of the ESSC or Environmental Science Student Council po as the second year representative po.
Yan. Ayan, Ken, kumusta naman yung academics natin dyan? Ano sasabi mo?
Doing well naman po. Okay naman po yung academics namin. Actually, in general po, okay naman po siya. Na-handle pa naman po. Na-manage pa din naman po namin.
Yeah, that's good. Ayun. Salamat, Ken. And I hope, like sinabi ko kanina sa unang interview natin, sana kahit paano is may makuha kang insights dito and maging eye-opener to para sa inyo na participants. Ayan, okay, Adrian?
Ngayon, Kuya Joff, bumake na tayo sa may topic kanina. sa may kung anong landas ba ang ating gusto ang tahakin after graduate, either nga ba sa academe or sa industry. Ikaw ba, Kuya Joff, do you have any idea na sa field na gusto mong i-take now that you are already there near the finish line?
Okay. Ngayon, meron akong plans, pero ang naiisip ko is mag-gain muna ako ng experience sa industry. Tapos after ma-gain ng experience sa industry, baka i-try ko rin sa academe para kahit paano yung mga magiging students ko or yung mapag-mentoran ko, may ma-share ako sa kanila na naging experience ko sa industry as well as sa academe. Ganun.
Ako man actually, Kuya Joff, ganun din yung parang balak ko wherein initially nga susubukan ko man sa industry, tapos later on, papasok sa academe para magturo or mag-research nga. Kasi in the field of academe, parang ang dami kong skills na lacking pa sa ngayon na mabibuild sa may field na ito. And speaking of the field of academe, starting with our first guest speaker, he is currently a professor at the Institute of Chemistry in UP Diliman, where he also obtained his bachelor's and master's degree in chemistry from. He then got his doctoral degree in chemistry at the University of Houston in Houston, Texas, USA. Introducing our first superhero for today, none other than Dr. Marlon Ticonato. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello po, good afternoon, sir.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir. Audible po.
Can the host give me access to share my
Ito
screen?
po. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes po.
Ayan, sige. So habang hinihintay natin sa pag-share ng screen si Sir Marlon, ngayon tanungin naman natin Adrian muna. Magtanong tayo isa muna sa participants natin. Ano ba yung na-expect nila? Dito, sa PNU naman tayo.
Sa ibang school?
Sa PNU. From PNU, andito po ba si Miss Micaela May de la Vega? Good afternoon po.
Kung wala naman po,
wala yata.
andito po ba si Miss Reyna ng PNU Chemso?
Hello po.
Ayun, good afternoon, Reyna. Tanong lang namin, ano ba yung, since na-introduce na naman namin yung first speaker, so ano ba yung expectations mo dito sa may magiging discussion ng ating first speaker?
Siguro po expectations ko na lang na more on knowledge about chemistry or sa kung ano man po yung mapag-uusapan. Siguro mas maging advanced yung maging advanced kami na nandito to learn more. And syempre as a chemistry student, advantage po ito sa amin. And
ayun, yes, tama.
Yan,
Tama yung sinabi ni Reyna.
Thank you, Miss Reyna, for your answer. Rest assured naman na masasagot yung expectations mo sa discussion ni Dr. Conato. Now, Dr. Conato, you may take the floor na po.
Okay, thank you. So I suppose you can see my screen, right? Yeah.
Yes, po,
So
sir.
so magandang hapon sa lahat. Thank you for CLSU ChemSoc for the invitation. It's an honor to talk to you today, right? And then I hope I meet the expectations of our audience, right? So I believe this is more of an informal talk rather than what I used to give like a formal na research presentation, right? So so I hope at the end of the talk you get something from it. Okay, so I titled this talk Tales of a Solid State Chemist. So meaning it's sort of some stories of becoming a solid state chemist, which I consider myself one, right? So apart from a faculty from the institute, in terms of the research specialization, I consider myself a solid state chemist. So you are going to hear something about solid state chemistry in a bit, but just very briefly. And then maybe just to give you a preview or some pictures on the screen, which are essentially the crystals, right? Some crystals. And that's what we refer to as the solid state, right? So it's not just a solid as opposed to like liquid and gas, but a specific type of solid, which are the crystals. So that's my field of research specialization. And again, I'm Marlon Ticonato, a faculty of UP Diliman Institute of Chemistry. So just to give a brief outline of my talk, this is very loose na specific outline. At least some of these parts, it's going to be delivered. So the first part will be some kind of a foundation on how I get interested in this field, in the solid state chemistry. And then maybe being an academic faculty, briefly. And then the part 2 is something which could probably describe on regarding my interest and how I settled on a particular research field. And then last but not the least are some activities that I'm currently doing at the Institute of Chemistry. Right. So I've introduced to you that I'm interested in solids, right? In particular, solids that are crystalline, are crystals, right? So not only that they are fascinating to look at, right? The samples are they're brightly colored. They have some crystal facets that are twinkling, or some amazing morphologies as well. But there's also a sense of some kind of a spiritual aspect when you think about crystals, like looking beyond the crystals as seeing your future, right? So so there's that aspect that I also find it fulfilling. At least until this part of my career. So to begin with, to give you a background of my foundations to chemistry. So I obtained my BS chemistry from the Institute of Chemistry, UP Diliman. And then my BS thesis then was on silica membranes. And I worked with Dr. Manny Ramos, mostly on some adsorption isotherms, more of a physical chemistry na side ng the characterization of some silica membranes. And then after graduation, I went on to proceed as a research associate at the Natural Sciences Research Institute, also in UP Diliman. So this is an institution wherein faculties of the College of Science get to propose their project, and then they hire graduates for their to conduct the experiments. And an advantage of this is at the same time I can proceed with my master's. So I've already been in the academic track since right after graduation, right? So I went on to proceed my master's at the same institution, the Institute of Chemistry, while doing several projects with Dr. Florentino Sumera. While my MS thesis is on biodegradable polymers, so there's kind of a shift from a physical chemistry BS thesis towards a more of an organic materials, polymer materials, towards my MS. But then during my tenure as an RA, I also worked with sorted projects. Say to name a few, I've worked on some natural products, some organic synthesis, some materials science projects as well. And that is because of the boss, right? Who I am working for. So Dr. Sumera is an organic chemist, and hence so medyo I shifted from the physical chemistry towards like the organic chemistry. And then after which there's an opportunity to proceed with my PhD abroad after my master's. So I went on to proceed to the Department of Chemistry at the University of Houston. And the choice in here is that the University of Houston their primary forte of research is on material science. So I'm already on the track of materials chemistry, right? So I don't really want to deviate into the purely materials engineering side, right? So I still wanted to be connected, affiliated with a chemistry, right? And so for my PhD dissertation, I went on to work with Dr. Jacobson on metal organic frameworks. Right? So it's framework material. I'm going to show to you some of the samples that we are working currently on metal organic frameworks, and then maybe a brief description of it later on, right? And then so there's another shift in here. From the physical chem of the BS, I went on to sort of the organic chemistry during the MS. My PhD actually is under an inorganic professor. So yeah, so I already kind of covered the different fields of chemistry, maybe except the analytical. Yeah. Okay, so so after I obtained my PhD degree from the University of Houston, I stayed in Houston for some time to work on another type of inorganic materials, a purely inorganic material, zeolite. These are crystalline aluminosilicates at the Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering and UH. And this has something to do with my consideration that after my PhD, I intend to explore working on an industry. And Houston is like the energy capital of the United States, meaning all the research, all the petrochemical, big petrochemical companies have research hubs, have research stations in Houston. Yeah, there's still a lot in there currently. And so it's kind of a way for me to be connected to that petrochemical industry. So that's yeah, that's the direction in there, right? On why you are wondering on how I proceeded with my career path then. So I worked in there for around 3 years as a postdoc under on a project with Total Petrochemicals, a French petrochemical company. Okay, yeah, so that's essentially yeah, my foundations, my background. That's when yeah, that's before I went on to decide to go back to the country, right, to be a faculty of the institute. Okay, so but then all the common things from my bachelor's research interest until the PhD towards my postdoc, all of those sort of work on a particular materials which we refer to as crystals, right? So the solid state chemistry interest has already been there. And then it's just was fortified over through the course of the graduate school until the postdoc, right? So just briefly, why I'm so interested with solid state chemistry. Well, for one, I'm a very average student when I was an undergrad. And then some of these things, like say, for example, some complex molecular systems like biomolecules, they seem pretty complex for me, right? That I tend to, I don't have the patience to understand them, in details. That I try to confine myself with, smaller molecules or some simpler molecules that I can understand, right? And one of the questions that I had then is that the structures of these compounds, like, are we really sure of the structures of these compounds? So there's always we were taught of like water being a bent molecule, right? Oxygen with 2 hydrogens on the sides, not really on the exactly on a linear side, right? Not the 180-degree na position of the hydrogens, but a bit bent with an angle, right? And so our general chemistry would tell us, oh, that's because of the electron pair repulsion and your Vesper rules, right? That's why you have the lone pairs, you have the lobes at the top. That's why it will repel, right? So those kinds of things. But then, are we really sure na ganun ba talaga yon, right? May nagre-repel ba talaga? If you take a look at the atoms, it's just oxygen and hydrogen. How come they can't just order in any other way? But but being bent, right? So that's one thing that is something na siguro my curiosity, right? Which sort of probably build up, right, until I'm into this field right now, right? And then the answer to my question then regarding the structure is an old technique, like the X-ray diffraction, which is on your slides right now, right? So meaning you are taught about the structures of these compounds, right? How they bond, how they are, their shapes, the molecular shapes, from all those mga rationalizations like your Vesper theory, your Lewis structure, etc. But then there should have been, or there will be, or there should have been an experimental evidence, right? You need to have some evidence on why bakit naging why people accepted that those structures are really true, right? And then you can trace those experimental evidence by this X-ray diffraction. So it's an old technique. It's it's very handy, and I would say it still is probably the best technique out there in determining the structures of compounds, right? Except that you need to have samples that are crystalline. If they're not crystalline, then you won't see any diffraction patterns, right? So that's the caveat in there, that the samples that you can only analyze with X-ray diffractions should be crystalline, right? So you need to form those crystals, right? So hence that's where my direction is, right, going into working with crystals, right? And then briefly, this technique of X-ray diffraction, so it's not a spectroscopy technique, it's a diffraction technique. So we don't call the result a spectra, right? We call it a diffraction pattern. Okay, so the idea in here is that these X-rays will shine on your crystal, and then it will generate a pattern, right? So how does it generate a particular diffraction pattern? It's based on what is in the crystal. So what is in the crystal are your ordered atoms, right, towards its actual structure, right? So if it's a water crystal, like an ice, then yung ordering mo doon are all bent water, yeah, all oxygen and then hydrogen bent, right? And hence that's how it is revealed na bent yon based on a specific na diffraction pattern of a particular crystal, right? Siyempre, the exercise in here, which we refer to as crystallography, is working from the diffraction pattern, from the raw data, towards determining its structure, right? So that's the science of crystallography. Okay, so the nice thing about this diffraction pattern is that what you can extract in there are electron density maps. And the electron density maps, each atom has its own unique number of electrons. Hence, that's how you can differentiate one atom from another, right? So those electron density will correspond to a particular atom. Another higher electron density will probably a bigger atom, right? Etc. etc. Right? And that's how the field of crystallography emerged, right? Being solving the structures from diffraction pattern. But as chemists, we don't confine ourselves into just solving the crystal structure. We are also after the understanding those structure. What is the purpose of the structure? What are those structures for? And what applications, right, are intended for those particular structures. Okay, and then probably just to emphasize, right, I have a slide in here, right? It's referred to as the ultimate technique, right? So this is photo 51, although it's obviously a diffraction pattern, although medyo give away yung label niya sa baba, right? It's by R. Franklin, and this is actually a diffraction pattern of your what is photo 51? That's a diffraction pattern of your DNA, right? So Rosalind Franklin was the one who did the crystallography of your DNA, right? So many years before before Watson and Crick won the Nobel Prize, a lot of people have already guessed or hypothesized that the structure of the DNA is like helical, and then it has this side groups, it has this amino acids or nucleic acids rather, right? But then it's not until this diffraction pattern were they able to really say that the structure of your DNA is a double helix. So that's sort of the validation of all those of all the mga theoretical na hypothetical structures it's not until you have experimental evidence that people can really consider it as, you know, the true structure of a particular compound. Okay, so yeah, so with that motivation, I thought, you know, this is a very nice field to be in, right? So yeah, that's where my training to my PhD as well as my postdoc are all concentrated on working with crystals or solid state, right? For that matter. And what type of crystals are we interested in? Yeah, as a chemist, we are always after the application, right? So we tend to find some interesting crystals that have interesting properties, right? That can be used for a lot of practical applications. And the property that I chose is on porosity. I like the porous crystals, but not just porous materials, but microporous materials, meaning that the pores are very small, right? Microporous, right? Actually, they're on the magnitude of you know, small molecules, right? So that if you're doing a chemistry in there, your molecule can fit in the pores, and then maybe they can react. You can use it as a catalyst, or yeah, you can do some adsorption of a specific molecule in there, which just fits right into the pores, right? So that's the idea of the microporosity. It's the chemistry is interesting, right? It's not just a, you know, you dump everything in a pore and then you just let it perform whatever function it's supposed to do, right? But then this one, you tend to have some kind of a control, right? One thing I already mentioned, control. One thing that is nice, yeah, you can select the building units, right? The building materials, such that you can have like several shapes of the pores, several dimensions as well. So if you use a bigger building unit, you can get a bigger pores, or a smaller unit, right, etc. Or if it's not a straight, or if it's not a 90-degree angle na vertex, then you can have several yeah, directionality of the pores. Now, in particular, I've worked on zeolites, and these are very popular commercial catalysts in the petrochemical industry. So, ano na to talaga, like proven and tested na, you know, kikita ang tao sa, kumita na sila by the use of zeolites, right? Yeah, those mga billionaires sa inyong mga petrochemical, big petrochemical companies. But there are also some other applications of your zeolites, being them microporous, such as, you know, in detergents, making your water soft, right? Among other things, such as adsorption or separation. And then a newer group of materials, which is under this microporous crystalline, are your metal organic frameworks. Now, this one is not a purely inorganic framework material, but a combination of your metal ions or metal clusters, and then some organic linkers. Right? So, no, yung difference nilang from, say, a normal na organometallic compound is that the linker can be extended further. Right? So, meaning the functionality that can bind to the metal, dapat more than one. Right? So that you can extend it further. Say, if you have a straight chain na linker, a linear linker, both ends should be capable of binding to a metal para mag-extend yung structure. Right? So that's how this yeah, the rationalization for this types of compounds. Yeah, so I went on to work on those yeah, interesting type of solids, and this is just a sort of a I know, just a rundown of some of the works that I did when I was doing my PhD. It's with Dr. Alan Jacobson. Yeah, so you know, you get to see a lot of different crystal structures, very nice figures from those crystal structures, right? And then you tend to kind of create your own design of your structure, although sometimes your design doesn't really translate into the actual material, as the synthesis still is a you know, it still is a tricky problem, right? You know, the conditions of actually having those particular arrangement is another story, right? Not just a, you know, something that you draw, it doesn't necessarily translate into a the actual structure. Right? Sometimes you are surprised you get a better structure, right? Or sometimes you simply just get very simple structures. So yeah, so I worked on methodological frameworks, characterization, different of architectures, and then some material science aspect of it is working them into films. And then when I proceeded to do my postdoc work, again, as I've said, this is with Total Petrochemical. So we have a funding from a petrochemical agency, and then they asked us to create some more catalysts for them, right? Pero while doing those projects for them, then we tend to discover some more things about these materials. And hence, that's when we studied or discovered some new materials such as HOU2, HOU3, right? And then not only are we working with the framework materials such as zeolites, but I also worked with mixed metal oxide catalysts. Okay, so there's an aspect in here, this figure, say for example, there's what we refer to as, the nice thing about this postdoc work is that I was also introduced to how, an industry such as the petrochemical industry do their research. Right. So in academics, we are more after the publications or the graduation of your thesis students, right, your thesis. But in the industry, syempre, they're more interested of the something na you're gonna earn money from, right? So such that kung may mga researches that may be promising but not very economical at this point in time, then sometimes itatago muna nila yon, and then they're gonna go back to it when there's a market demand again, right? So there's the aspect of the chemistry of it, like working on the materials, and there's also the aspect of chemical engineering, right? The building the reactors that could improve the yield, improve the conversion, right, etc. Right, so I'm just only after the science. The counterpart from the petrochemical industry is the one, going about with the how to really make it economical, right? Like developing into a better conversion, better yield for this mga reactions. Okay, right. So my slide in here, it says X research groups. Right, so these are my research groups from the US when I was there. And this is sort of my part one for the acknowledgement, right? So, syempre, I won't be able to be in this field right now if not for them, right? So, they have to be acknowledged. So, the nice thing about this group as well is that it's very international, right? So, it's a mixed group of several personalities from several countries. Say from the Jacobson group, we have some Russian, Koreans, Cameroonian, Sri Lankan, Thai, then some Chinese, right? And then a British group, and then as well as from Dr. Reimer, we have some people from Korea, Iranians, Alex is from Poland, some Chinese, and then some Americans, right? So not only you get to learn to improve your science, right, to learn more about the field, but also you get to learn about culture, and then working with other people, other personalities of other cultures. Okay, and then fast track in 2015, I went home, right? So I decided to go back to the Philippines. And I'm more comfortable here, right? So I'm very familiar with UP Diliman, although originally I'm from Iloilo. Pero, I'm at home at UP Diliman, so I went back to pursue a faculty position there. And then I came back as a balik scientist in 2015. That's a nice thing as well, is that around this time, until this point in time, our government is it's very active in recruiting people abroad to transfer, to move back here in the Philippines, right, through their Balik Scientist program. UP also has their own Balik PhD programs, and I'm sure other institutions have their own programs to recruit people abroad to to go back to the country and help science in here. So these are some pictures from that stint, from the Balik Scientist stint. They had the Balik Scientist Program Convention. This was the first Balik Scientist Program Convention conducted, and then this was still before the Balik Scientist Law. And so, but the Balik Scientist Law, there are more lucrative perks right now for those who are interested to go back to serve the country. Okay. Yeah. So and then I came back here 2015, and then start my own research group, right, working on crystals, right. But then the laboratory that I went back to is obviously something that I'm very familiar with, and it's the laboratory of Dr. Ting Sumera. It's the polymer laboratory. I mentioned that I was his RA for during my master's. He was also my master's thesis advisor. Then I came back here, so he was very generous to share his lab to me, right? And then so we worked together for some time before his retirement in 2016. And then from there, so I'm sort of his inheritor, right? So I kind of had the advantage over other faculties, over other people that are that started their research groups in the Philippines from abroad. In a sense, there's already an existing lab that I was already working with, right? So we already had like some equipments, some chemicals, right, and then some people, some personnel doing research in the lab. So briefly then, polymer laboratory in ICAM UP Diliman, I still keep the name polymer laboratory, right? So we worked on polymer synthesis. This is starting from my master's thesis then. And then we also have some projects on biopolymers and biominerals, something that I can show you later. And then other than those mga classic na polymeric materials, I introduced the inorganic polymers, right? So such as your crystalline materials, your zeolites, and nanocomposites, as well as coordination polymers. Coordination polymers is simply the other name for metal organic frameworks, right? Because they're connected by coordination bonds, right? Your metal ligand bonds. Okay, so so that's where we are. Over the years, we have developed into a very interesting group. So starting from a co-advisee with Dr. Sumera of some students, since he was already retiring during the time. So I helped him do his research at the start until I get my own research group, right? So around 2016, 2017, I have my own research groups with some Bachelor of Science Chemistry students, Masters of Science in Chemistry students, as well as Masters of Science in Material Science and Engineering. The MSE program in UP Diliman is only for masters for graduate school, right? So they don't have the BS Chemistry, the BS MSE in UP, except the BS Materials Engineering, which is in the engineering department, not in the College of Science. So so it grew into a really large group, right? So I'm trying to cut it down right now. So anyhow, these are just some pictures over the years of the lab, in the polymer lab. So a lot has already graduated, moved on to some other careers. A lot of them, or several of them, also went into the medical school. I think medicine is still a popular choice for BS chemistry students. There are some who work in the industry, also some who proceeded with their masters. Some of them are still with me right now. And then others have already started their PhD work abroad. And this is some of the last photos before the pandemic, right? So these are just some of our activities before the pandemic. I believe January 2020 is probably our last group gathering in there, as the pandemic started around a little bit, a few months after that. So and then the pandemic happened. right? And so we are forced to adjust, right? To adapt. We are forced to have an online meeting instead of the physical meeting, and that includes going through with the defense, and then even graduation, right? We have graduation that are just streamed online. While the students or the RAs, or not the students but the RAs, are already allowed to work in UP that time, since they are still considered an employee. They're already an employee. So we can get certification authorization for them to continue their work. So that's an advantage for some of the students, such as Kim or Charlene, who worked as an RA, right? So they were able to continue their research experiments. But then for some, then it's only until late last year that they really opened it for other students as well. And then right now, we already have undergraduate students working in the labs. Okay, and so with the guidelines of the pandemic guidelines being relaxed, we were able to do some things again, right? To meet each other for physically, and then do some activities. And then so I would say right now the research atmosphere in UP has sort of already normalized, right? It's just that the teaching only is the one that is still not normal, right? Okay, or we have what you call the new normal, right? Okay, anyhow, and so briefly for the maybe remaining, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 slides. I'm gonna go some of the research works that my students are working right now, right? So you can classify them into three. We have the natural polymers of the biomaterials, and then the porous inorganics, or the aluminosilicates, wherein your zeolites belong to, and then the coordination polymers, or your metal organic frameworks. So siguro it's not really more of the technical details of these different projects, but more of the motivation, then more of the rationalization on how we go about how we thought of these projects, and how and why we wanted to pursue it, and maybe some practical applications that we are looking into. So so the following slides are kind of like a laundry list of the research activities that we are working in the lab. Okay, so one thing, so my first slide in here is that MOFs with natural linkers. One thing that is very different from working research abroad and working research in the Philippines is that we are very limited with the funding. We are also very limited with the use of the equipments. Some of them are not very available, such that we try to economize. We try to adjust on using some cheaper alternatives. And one of which is working with natural linkers, right? So we can't have very fancy organic ligands as our linkers to creating some framework materials. So we thought of doing something that is readily available. That is more or less you have a commercial source, not only with a chemical company, but also say in grocery stores or some other mga local chemical companies. Okay, so this natural linkers, actually there's not a lot of label in there, but then the one on the left is actually working on a linker based on histidine. It's an amino acid. So it's more common than your other organic fancy linkers, right? Such as your those mga long name na organic linkers. And then what's our interest with this histidine is that it's chiral, right? You know amino acids are inherently chiral. So what we are after in there are chiral frameworks, right? So chiral frameworks, they're very interesting in terms of its application. The application that we have in here is a visionary reaction. So we use this histidine, or rather the nickel histidine. So nickel is the metal in here, and then the organic linker is histidine, a nickel histidine MOF, right? For a visionary reaction, which is an asymmetric reaction, meaning that the product has chiral center. And then to influence the chiral center towards a particular enantiomer, then you need to have a special catalyst, such as a chiral catalyst. Right, so that's where the direction of this work is is based. Popo graduated with his MS Chem in 2019, right? And then this is just a picture of his nice purple crystals. And then another project on natural linker as well is working with cyclodextrins. Cyclodextrin, there are food grade cyclodextrins, right? Or your technical grade cyclodextrins. You have other sources other than ordering it from Sigma Aldrich or Merck. So it's something that we can have an access to. And then ordering the cyclodextrins is also interesting. Say you can order them such as one ring on top of each other, and then you use the metal to bind them together, right? So that's how you create the transition metal cyclodextrin MOFs. Or you can have also an arrangement of the cyclodextrins wherein each of the rings are arranged on a face of a cube, right? So you can have several architectures. And then syempre, the architectures sometimes are based on a trial and error experiment, right? You try other synthetic conditions, you get another compound, right? But you can think of it as having a phase diagram, right? So different temperatures, different pressure, or maybe an introduction of a template in there. You can have a different ordering of those molecules, those compounds on a different condition. And these are some pictures of their crystals that was created on different precision metals. Now we are after an enantiomeric separation for this project. Right? So we are working on purification of some chiral materials, of chiral compounds. Okay, and then we can have some other, we have other works on MOFs. This one is for energy application. The metal in here is copper. The linker is or copper and other transition metals as well. And the linker here is an oxalic acid and oxalate, right? And then you can have some very interesting formation of the crystals, right? This is a picture of a crystal. And then the networking, it's sort of a honeycomb structure, but with something inside. What is that something inside? It's based on this ammonium subunit, right? And that ammonium subunit is capable of conducting ions. Hence, it has an inherent ionic conductivity, something that could be practical for, say, a proton conduction, for example, such as in your fuel cells, like a material for your fuel cells. Now we have seen analogs of this compound in papers in works abroad, right? So we have created another analog of it, right? And then some other works on MOFs with energy applications are some electrode materials in batteries, as well as one student right now, a PhD MSc student, is working on perovskite, some for solar cell applications. Okay, now other interesting work is on working on different morphologies. So not really with the structure, but different shapes of the crystals, right? So these three, for example, the pictures on the right are all same MOF material, but at different conditions, they tend to have different shapes, right? And then not only do they tend to have different shapes, sometimes you can use them to encapsulate some materials such as gold, right? A traditional nanoparticle material. And then we all know the problem with your nanoparticles is that they tend to aggregate, right? So this is a way to prevent them from aggregating, right? Try to encapsulate that gold into that pore in the framework. Hence, they're now accessible. They're now situated individually, right, apart from each other, right? So you remove the problem of the aggregation. And these are some nice looking pictures, some high resolution SEM images, wherein you can see some dots in the middle of a framework, of a crystal rather. Okay, and then you use this material for some simple reduction reaction, or some simple reactions such as reduction of your nitrophenol, right? And then we have observed some differences when you shine light in there or when you don't shine light in there. Another project on crystal engineering or nanostructuring of the MOFs is just influencing the types of morphology. Say you wanted a crystal that is a needle-like, right, or elongated, as opposed to say like a rhombohedral or a fatter crystal, right? So this is like a slim crystal, a fat crystal, and how we approach this problem is to influence the facets, right? So there are crystal facets in there. Then you can have, depending on what we refer to as a crystal growth modifiers, you can block that facet. So when you block that facet, your crystal will tend to grow on the other directions, right? Kasi block na yung direction ng particular facets, right? So if you block this, say, particular direction, then the crystal will just tend to grow on this direction. Hence, they will become elongated, right? Similarly, if you use another growth modifier, then you can have other morphologies. And then again, we try to find applications for this particular material. This one is on a degradation of dyes, as you have you have some active iron metals as part of the framework. And then this one is a classic popular research topic for material science, and this is on zeolites. So we are working on the synthesis, different types of zeolites from, say, a material that is not as dense as the final product. So we are working with like a two-dimensional layered material, such as your clays, like say your montmorillonite or your mga bentonite na clays, and then transforming them into three-dimensional framework materials, such as your zeolites, your ANA zeolite, FAU zeolite, GIS zeolite. So again, it's working on some kind of a phase diagram depending on the condition, depending on the temperature, other like the basicity, the silicon to aluminum ratio. You can have you can direct it to different structure types. Okay, and then with those mga organic framework materials, we still continue to work on some polymeric materials, right? So this is more of the legacy of Dr. Sumera, right? We try to continue to do these things in the lab. So we worked on some advanced polymers, such as self-healing polymers, as polyacrylates, as well as polycarboxylates. And then we have some a recent project that just ended. Actually, it was presented just I think yesterday, right? Sort of the graduation of this DOST project. The one on concrete, so say an application in concrete, wherein we developed some super plasticizers, right? So to improve the adhesion of those mga concrete components. And then we also developed that together with NIGS and some other institutions, such as your civil engineering in UP Diliman, right? So we worked with like a technique, a concrete petrography technique, to somehow understand the formation of this materials. Okay, one thing siguro, just sort of just a short break from the research topics. It's also important to collaborate, right? That's actually the purpose of the different logos that I put at the right bottom hand of the screen, right? So we try to collaborate with other institutions. Syempre, you don't want to be confined with your institution, just your institution, right? So, other institutions have a lot of things to offer for you, right? Not only their resources or their facilities, but also the discussion. During the discussion, you learn a lot from working with other institutions, such as I've already mentioned some civil engineering or geology department. And this one is with marine science, as we are also interested from materials from marine organisms, right? So we refer to it as biomaterials of the sea. But then often the marine science projects, yung mga aquaculture, more of them are directed towards food processing, right, or culturing those mga animals. So that's the biology, right? That's very, it's a very hard topic for me, right? So I'm only interested with the, really just the chemistry, right? So some simple maybe compounds that are found in your marine organisms and something that you can find inspiration, right? Such as, say, for example, biomineralization studies, meaning how the minerals are growing, right? Or how the crystalline minerals are forming depending on different influences, right? So a classic example in here, some work of my undergraduate students is to investigate on the shells, right? You know, shells. You're interested with the shellfishes because of the pagkain, right? Yeah, because of the seafood, right? But then the shells are actually discarded, right? So you don't really pay particular attention to the shells. But if you take a look at the different shells, say for example ano yung mussels versus an oyster, you know, those shells actually have different different appearance. But if you take a look at their composition, they're both calcium carbonate, right? So they're both CaCO3. Right? There's no difference kapag pina-analyze mo siya. You're gonna end up with a calcium carbonate na, you know, an IR spectra of a calcium carbonate. Or pag elemental analysis yan, it's CaCO3 yung makukuha mong ratio, right? So what made the difference between those two different appearances, right? So it's interesting to note that they have two different crystal structures, right? One of them is aragonite, right? A crystalline we refer to as that has a habit, an orthorhombic crystal habit, versus calcite, which is probably the more popular calcium carbonate or calcite, a trigonal na crystal habit. So the ordering of the calcium and the carbonates are the ones na nagdi-differ. They're both calcium and carbonates, right? It's just that, right, yung isa, kunwari, naka-order siya in a sense na naka-align yung calcium mo on a particular direction, and then you have something in the every other position, as opposed to another one na medyo regular, yung octahedral na position ng yung calcium, and then the oxygens, the carbonates in there. Okay, so that's you know, that's interesting to know. So to move further from that, to investigate further on that, right? So you might be interested to, we are interested in you know, transforming. If you can transform one form to another, right? Which is also very interesting, right? So you can transform aragonite to calcite, right? And then what we found out is that there's the influence of magnesium. So if you introduce magnesium to that system, so somehow it will compete with the calcium and then tend to order in a direction of one polymorph of a crystalline CaCO3 over the other, right? Okay, and then another interesting project that we have currently is on this what we call mutable collagenous materials. So these are collagen materials that are derived from sea cucumbers, right? Now, this one naman, similar to how we are interested with the transforming of the different crystal structures. Now, this one is not really crystalline, right? Pero there's a sort of an ordering of collagens that make your sea cucumber somehow, some of them, when you touch them, right there, they're very stiff. Some of them will actually melt in your hand, right? So depending on the species, there would be different na behavior. Syempre may biology na reason behind it, like you know, the different stimuli, the different stress that you apply, right? Then the different na adaptation of the animal, right? Pero yung sa interest lang namin sa lab is the ordering, the collagens in there. How do they order when it's in soft state versus in a stiff state, and what other factors can influence those mga states, right? Okay, and then the direction to that biomaterial is working with advanced materials, right? Working for some advanced applications. So I have listed in here some things that we are currently working. So we are doing some hydrogels from these collagen materials, some membranes, which are somehow handy to work with. And then, yeah, some another advancement of the hydrogels is your aerogels, which are which is something that you can also create from this collagen materials, as well as the biomimetics. So biomimetics, it's simply how do this like materials influence the crystallization of, say, for example, a calcium phosphate or ano yung bones, hydroxyapatite na crystals, right? So hydroxyapatite crystals. Okay. Yeah. And so just to give some sort of a summary slide of our research projects, right? So essentially we try to understand crystals that have already been in existence over the years in your under the earth, in your zeolites or your mga natural zeolites or your mga gemstones or your minerals, right? Trying to understand their structure, right? And then in the lab as chemists, we are very good at duplicating them, right? Trying to mimic the structures, trying to replace some other components in there, but with the same structure, etc. And then eventually to do better, right? To improve it to a particular application, right? So that's what we refer to as the art of synthesis. This has been a theme during the 2014 International Year of Crystallography. Okay. And so I do consider my lab as a synthesis lab. We do collaborate with other institutions for, in particular for applications, for advanced applications, say, analyzing these crystals abroad. So we tend to connect to other institutions, not only in the Philippines, but also abroad. So my acknowledgement part two in here is obviously the ones who did this all these experiments, right? So that I can have something to show you. So this is all through the hard work of the students, right? My research group over the years until today, right? And then maybe just to give you some brief overview of the other activities that I do, right? So I'm a faculty, but I tend to, I'm more inclined towards the research aspect of being a faculty, right? Although I do enjoy teaching naman, right? Mentoring undergraduate students and graduate students, especially with the research, right? So maybe you can say na, I'm still awkward in saying na teaching is my passion. It's going to be weird, but I'm more of inclined towards research over teaching. So let's just put it that way. Okay, and then so for other activities, right, you get to collaborate with some people, get to work with other institutions abroad, or you get to be sent by the Philippine government to do some work for them, right? So say for example, the GTIS, the technology search, looking at other technologies in some other countries, right? And then trying to see if we can develop it in our conditions, in our setting, right? Or just general, like meeting some cool people, right? So some Nobel laureates, right? Or some very important people in the science community. And then working with other institutions, not only in the academe but also in the industries, the Philippines, right? And then I have a picture in here of this is more of like I don't know, I was just a tag along on this biodiversity trip to the Philippine rice, right? Okay. And then some other collaborations that we do with neighboring countries. So speaking engagements with, say for example, Speak is with the chemical industries, right? And then recently I was in Taiwan. Forgot when, I think August or September. This is because of I'm also the international committee representative of the Asian Coordination Chemistry, right? And we are trying to engage in disseminating or making coordination chemistry popular in the country, right? So as you know, solid state chemistry or inorganic chemistry, they're not as popular as your natural products or your biochemistry researches, right? We're still lagging behind in terms of the popularity, right? Although we're trying to have some people around trying to create kind of a community in this particular field of chemistry. Okay, and I guess this is my last slide. Yeah, so this is more of just like a take-home message for our audience. So why do I? And this is kind of just my answer. If you ask me, why do I still do research? Why do I keep on this particular career path, doing research or being a faculty in an institution? So it's because of like it's because of curiosity, right? So this is from Walt Disney. So we keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious, right? And curiosity keeps leading us down a new path. So it's more of just you can say it can be a little bit selfish in a sense na you are just trying to satisfy your curiosity, right? You need to investigate things so that you have answers for your questions, right? But then that kind of drive, to finding answers to those questions, it's kind of a good life, right? You tend to wake up in the morning having a different sense of, having a different purpose, not just waking up to another new day, right? Okay, so I guess with that, I end my presentation. It's actually raining outside, so hopefully walang internet interruption. My office, my research lab is in the Institute of Chemistry, the National Science Complex in UP Diliman, in Quezon City, right? And we have this direct line numbers. You can also find me at our website, where I haven't included my email in there, right? But yeah, you can send me emails, mticonato@up.edu.ph. Okay, yeah, so thank you again for the invitation, right? And I hope I contributed something, right? And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, sir. Ayun. Thank you, sir, for that very informative. Sumobra, sir, sa pagka-informative yung naging po natin, discussion po natin, sir. And kumustahin muna natin, Adrian, yung mga participants natin kung mamaya tulog na pala iba dyan. Okay, so mga participants natin dyan, mag-send nga naman kayo ng emoji sa may chat box natin para malaman namin kung nandiyan pa kayo, kasama pa namin kayo. May tulog na pala iba
emoji
din. Kahit ano emoji, mag-send lang kayo para ayan, gising mo naman si Adrian. And then, pero on a serious note kasi, yung sa naging discussion ni sir, which is syempre solid state chemistry, na sabi ni sir yung importance talaga, yung application, di ba? Para mas mag-grasp pa natin yung concept ng isang compound from yung molecular level up to the crystal structure level, di ba? Ma-modify yung components dun sa chemical formula ng mga existing compounds natin. Tapos from there, magko-construct tayo ng mga, kumbaga maggagawa tayo ng synthetic route para makapag-create pa tayo ng new materials, di ba? Pero ang naging takeaways ko talaga dito, Adrian, parang base dun sa kwento ni sir, talagang na-inspire din si sir ng ibang individuals din, di ba? Ang sana mangyari din yung sa ngayon, sa generation naman ngayon, may isa tayong participant dito or naman yung participant sa YouTube na nanonood, sa Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or sino mang participant dito na ma-inspire din sa naging discussion, naging talk ni sir, na maging interested din sila sa solid state chemistry, no? And with that, the question and answer portion is now open. So kung may questions or clarifications kayo about Sir Marlon's presentation, you can type your questions sa chat box and we will read them out for you. Or kung gusto nyo naman si sir mismo makausap nyo, pwede nyo erase yung hand nyo tapos we will acknowledge you to speak directly. Yan, same goes din pala sa YouTube live, yung mga participants natin doon. Kung may questions kayo. Nahiya sila.
I think we have meron na po atang may sa akin po, meron Yung question number 1 po, sir, Dr. Conato, is what job or career options can we expect if we are interested in studying and pursuing solid-state chemistry? Again po, sir, yung question po is what job or career options can we expect if we are interested in studying and pursuing solid-state chemistry?
Yeah. So thank you for the question. Well, solid-state chemistry in a way is already a very broad na field. It depends on the material you're working with. Then you can have different types of career path. If you are referring to career path in the industries, right? So as I've said, petrochemical industry is still a popular destination for those who are working with zeolite. For those who are interested in, say, some advanced mga structures, such as the one that you can use for fuel cells or for your electrodes, your batteries, then you can have something like an energy, alternative energy na mga companies. Syempre, it goes without saying then the government institutions that are working on research, right, on those particular na mga subject, right? You can have also environmental applications of this materials, right? You can have the applications in medicine as well, right? Although you might say na medyo confined siya towards doing research, right? Pero that's where everything starts, right? The doing research on a particular na topic, right? And then trying to build from that particular na material. But eventually you can develop your own material, right? Or creating some policy for these types of materials, right? So so a lot, right? And then actually if you are working with organic solids as well, then pharmaceuticals and drug companies, they're also working with organic crystals, right? So it depends on the line of applications that you are working with, the type of materials that you are dealing. Syempre, what I have described to you more or less are the academic research na mga materials that we are working with, right? But this is where they started from. Like the semiconductor industry started from the crystal structure of silicon, right? And you can have different career opportunities.
Ayun, I hope nasagot yung question ng participant natin ngayon. Sir, ito pong second question is thesis related po siya. Ayan, so let me read the question. Sabi po niya, my undergrad thesis po will use the MMT nanoclay or yung Marlon, hindi ko lang basa dito, sir. Medyo yan, the MMT nanoclay. He already placed the one order po sa Sigma Aldrich, but it will take too much time daw po to deliver. So yung option B daw po niya is bentonite, but better daw po kung MMT na. Now, his question po is, may alam po ba kayo kung saan po pwedeng i-avail yung MMT here in the Philippines? Bukod po sa Chemline.
Yeah, so very specific yung tanong. So actually I'm not sure how sensitive yung experiment niya. Pero for practicality reasons, bentonite is a clay, and then yung clay mineral contained in that clay is also MMT based. So it's also montmorillonite. So somehow you can just go ahead and use bentonite, right? And then for applications, economic reasons, mas better yung bentonite, right? I mean, mas practical siya, na mas mura siya. You don't need to have the expensive montmorillonite na pure material, right? Although I'm not sure how sensitive yung purity na kailangan niya, right? We are also limited to local suppliers for our sources of chemicals. So our local supplier is probably just the same as yours, right? So so there's always that limitation of acquiring these materials in the country, that as opposed to say working this abroad, right? Pero I would advise just go ahead and work with bentonite, right? What you can achieve probably with montmorillonite is going to be almost the same chemistry, right? Maybe maybe at a lower purity lang ng starting material, right? Pero I think your science question can be answered, right? We just using bentonite base.
Ayan, I hope na nasagot naman siguro. Ayun, so sabi ni Sir is, okay lang naman daw yung sa bentonite na kahit wag na yung sa MMT dahil parang same ano lang naman po sir, di ba? Parang component din nung isa, yung MMT. Ayun. May question ba dyan, Adrian?
I think we also have another one po from anonymous sender po. Since the struggle in studying chemistry was mentioned as a student, how were you able to overcome confusion upon chemistry topics, specifically phychem? Also, how did the transition of your interest go from phychem to orgchem?
Yeah, well, that's actually a difficult to answer. It's more of sometimes you get to just be spontaneous, depending on the opportunity that is there, then you go ahead with it, right? But I think that's also a good lesson. You try to be open with these opportunities, right? You don't try to confine yourself with you really wanted to pursue this particular line, right? And then at the end of the day, you end up with this is difficult pala to do in the Philippines, not doing it at all anymore, right? Sa subject matter naman, you try to I don't know how to be a very good student. You try to be you try to get the hang of how chemistry is done, right? Siguro you try to keep the interest on the practical aspects of it, right? And then the academic aspect of it, like learning this phychem, this organic chem, this inorg chem in college, is just a way for you to eventually solve something na practical problem. Like say for example, you wanted to work on the environment, like cleaning, climate change or cleaning the air, right? Then you have that specific goal. Then maybe a way to do it is chemistry, right? And then you need the understanding of this mga molecules, understanding of these compounds, right? For you to be able to develop your own ideas later on, right? On how you are able to or on how you address the problem. Right? Okay, so I guess very broad yung sagot ko, pero I hope you got something from there.
Yes, tama rin po sinabi niyo sir na kailangan yung interest dapat hindi mawawala yun kung gusto mong may ma-solve na problem sa society, di ba? And to sir, I think may isa po tayong question dito. I think last one, ito na yung last one. Mga naka-anonymous sir. So ang question po niya is, you've mentioned pursuing your studies abroad and later on decided to return. What made you do so? Do you prefer working here in the Philippines more than the environment in abroad?
Yeah. Well, kung true blue UP student, sasabihin ko for the country, right? That's a very general din na sagot. Pero at some point that's also gonna be true to any of us, after you work for some time abroad, after you've been there for like several years. So I was there for almost 8 years, right? Iba yung environment sa Pilipinas, right? So that's one thing, that you are still more comfortable with with working in the Philippines if there are good opportunities such as the one I've mentioned. Our government, the institutions are actively recruiting for people from abroad to come back in the country to help develop science in the country, right? So also siguro on personal level, I stayed in the US for a while, and then at the end of the day, the culture in the US, people there work very hard, like 2 jobs, 3 jobs, etc. So you end up with working on a job in a day, then going home sleep and then wake up in the morning again doing several jobs again the next day, right? So you don't really find well, at least on a personal level, to me, you don't really find a lot of fulfillment on those routine, right? In the Philippines, you can contribute something, right? I mean, you work on a university, you do research, you try to work with government institutions, trying to help them solve their problems, right? So it's also then a way for us to pay back, right? So we have that UP spirit, right? Na we owe it to our people. We owe it to the Filipino people, right? Our education in particular.
Yes, sir. Tama po yung sinabi niyo po, sir. Ayan. So, I think, Adrian, yun na yung last question.
Okay, now, let us proceed na po to the awarding of certificate. CLSU Chemical Society, in cooperation with CLSU BS Chemistry Student Council, proudly presents Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Marlon Ticonato for imparting his knowledge and valuable experiences during the CHEMSCIENTIA A Talk About Journey, featuring the Men of Science, held on 22nd day of October 2022 at Central Luzon State University, signed by the President of CLSU Chemical Society, Ms. Prima Rose de la Cruz, CLSU BS Chemistry Student Council President, Ms. Helen Joyce de la Cruz, and CLSU Chemical Society Advisor, Dr. Redel L. Gutierrez, and CLSU BS Chemistry Student Council Advisor, Mr. Charleo S. Sapanta.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sir, before you leave po siguro, may we request po to have a photo with you po? 1, 2, 3. Yan. Thank you po, sir.
Thank you.
Ayan. Nabanggit ba kanina, Adrian, yung ano yung code? Hindi, sige. So, ayan, sige, to emphasize ko lang din. Through the duration ng webinar na to, magsasabi kami ng dalawang codes. Yung codes kasi na yun, kailangan yun, ilalagay nyo kasi siya sa evaluation form mamaya. So, yung code number 1 natin is solid state. Ayan, sinend ng facilitator natin. Ayun, as well as sa YouTube participants natin, yung mga facilitators doon, kindly send the first code. Ayan, so first code natin is solid state.
Yan, before we go on na siguro sa may next part of our program, bago natin ipakilala yung mga second guest speaker, bakit di muna tayo magpa-icebreaker, Kuya Joff, para naman mapahinga at ma-absorb mabuti ng mga participant natin yung discussion ni Dr. Conato kanina.
Syempre. At talagang sasali lahat dito kasi meron tayong prize na nakahanda sa mga icebreaker na to.
Yes, ayun, everyone po is encouraged to participate in the game. Ayun nga, gaya nga sinabi ni Kuya Joff, malaki-laki yung prize niya. So guys, wag na mahihiyang magsagot, and wala namang kasing mawawala kung itatry nyo kahit feel nyo ay mali yung sagot nyo. Malay nyo, di ba? Chumamba. And also pala, ang balita ko po lahat ng magpa-participate ay papasa ngayong SEM. Kaya, ayun, join na kayo guys.
No, gusto nga sumali kaso bawal eh. And before mag-start, yung dalawang part to guys, yung una is for Zoom participants muna. 5 items siya. Then, syempre tag-isang winner lang yun. Then yung second part is for YouTube participants naman. So, sa mga YouTube viewers natin, maghintay muna kayo kasi Zoom participants muna yung icebreaker number 1 natin. Ayan, so Adrian, start na natin. Excited na ito yung mga keyboard warriors.
Okay, ayan, mukhang ready na nga yung PowerPoint. Ang hinanda naming game is entitled 4 Picks 2 Words. Ang mechanics ng game ay, in this game, 4 images will be used to describe the jumbled words. The jumbled word represent men scientists who have made contributions to science. However, whoever types the answer in the conversation box first will win. Ayun. So para siyang 4 picks 1 word, pero ang hinahanap na word is yung name ng mga male scientist.
Yes, yun. Hindi, huwag natin patagalin pa. Item number 1 na agad. Start na daw. Ayun yung una. Wala kayo.
Yung first picture. May mga
yung first
planet.
picture. Mga moon yata ng ano yan. Ng
Jupiter. Yung planet Jupiter.
Kabibilis yun.
Yung first picture is
tapos may scientific method din daw. So, ito, clock. May nakatama na Adrian sa ano natin. Ayan, so...
Okay, proceed na tayo.
Wait. So, ang answer is si Galileo Galilei. So, ano lang, guys. Facts lang about kay Galileo Galilei. Nung time kasi nila, ang alam ng tao, yung moon kasi parang perfect sphere yan. Lahat ng mga celestial objects sa outer space, mga heavenly bodies, mga perfect, yung mga smooth sphere yan, yung Earth lang daw yung hindi. Pero yung ginamit ni Galileo, yung ginawa niyang telescope, nung tinapat niya sa moon, doon na nagbago yung understanding ng tao sa mga celestial bodies sa outer space. Para nakita niya doon na yung moon is hindi talaga siya perfect, hindi siya perfect na smooth na sphere, kundi meron siyang mga craters. So ayan. Back to you guys. Yung facts na naman kay Galileo Galilei. Ayan, so he pioneered the use of telescope.
Yun. Next item na. Number 2. Ayan.
Grabe. Sobrang familiar nito.
Formula na EMC squared. Si Labret 90s.
Si Labret 90s. Ayan.
Sino kaya Labret?
Parang ito yung scientist na pag tinanong mo yung mga estudyante, especially science student, pangalan sila ng scientist. Feel ko parang siya yung laging sasabihin sa majority ng mga answer.
Yes, ayan, parang andain ng sumagot at nakatama.
Mga mabibilis talaga yung mga yan. Sige, reveal na natin answer.
Ayan, ang sagot is si Albert Einstein. Yun nga yung pina-flash kanina is yung famous niyang formula na E is equal to mc squared, which is the mass equivalence. Konting fact lang din tungkol kay Albert Einstein. He is known for his theory of relativity tsaka yung sa may quantum mechanics na hanggang sa ngayon ay complicated pa rin at ang daming unknown. So, malay nyo guys, di ba, isa na sa inyo yung makapag-unveil ng another field sa may quantum mechanics o kaya sa may theory of relativity. Ayan.
Baka ikaw daw yun, Adrian. Sige, sa item tayo, item number 3. Ayan. Si Clasher Inward daw. Oo.
Ano ba yung pinapakita Kuya Joff?
Mga mammals, birds sa mga hayop. May DNA dito. Oy, reminder lang guys, isang beses lang pwede manalo. Bigyan nyo naman chance yung iba. Kayo bibilis yung mag-type eh.
Yan. Mukhang may nanalo na, Kuya Joff.
Oo. Talaga may manalo dyan. Kaka-flash pa nga lang nung parang may nag-send ba ng PPT dito? Parang alam nila yung sagot.
Ba't ang bilis din?
Oo. Kaka-flash pa lang, may mga sagot na eh. Ayan. Sige, reveal na nga natin. Ayan, so yung scientist na dinedescribe sa 4 picks na yun ay si Charles Darwin. So, famous for his theory of evolution by natural selection. Ayan, sige, ano ulit? Facts ulit tayo dito. Siguro nung, junior high school, elementary, may mga tawag doon, yung mga nagtatanong, di ba? Kung totoo daw yung, di ba, Adrian, kung totoo daw yung evolution, bakit daw may mga unggoy pa kayo? Di ba, na-encounter mo yung mga question?
Yes, partner.
Oo. So, ang talagang sagot kasi doon, hindi, ang alam kasi nila sa mga nagtatanong na yun, mula unggoy, tapos nag-evolve papuntang tao. So, ang totoo nun is, yung mga monkeys, yung mga apes, sa zoo, yung mga nasa zoo, tas tayo, meron lang tayong common ancestor. Tapos from dun sa common ancestor na yun, doon na nagkaroon ng dalawang hiwalay na lineage. Tapos yung sa unang lineage, yung sa atin, hanggang sa mag-evolve hanggang tao. Tapos yung sa pangalawa is yung hanggang dun lang sa sa unggoy lang, ganun. So hindi sagot yung from monkeys, direct evolution as naging tao. Ayun, so ayan, para maliwanag sa lahat, baka may mga nagtatanong pa rin ng ganun. Yan.
Okay, for the next
okay,
item.
next na.
Number 4 ata to. Yan.
Uy,
molecules.
grabe. I-explain mo pa lang, Adrian, may makasagot na sila.
Ay, ang bilis.
Kakasabi pa lang eh. Next item pa lang sabi, tapos meron na silang answer agad.
Yan, I think we already have a winner na. So, ang sagot sa may item na ito ay si...
Huwag na natin describe yung picture. May sagot naman agad sila.
Ang bilis nila.
Reveal na po. Ayan.
Yan, si John Dalton. He introduced the atomic theory in chemistry and he is famous for his work on human optics. Tapos ayun, fun fact lang, kung napansin nyo kanina dun sa may picture, merong sa may pinaka lower right, parang pinakita dun yung picture ng color blindness test. Ayun, fact lang about John Dalton. He is red-green color blind. Tapos parang na-discover din niya na yung color blindness na ito is hereditary or namamana nga natin, ganon. Yun lamang.
Wi-Fi reveal daw. Sino may mabibili? Si mga taga-PLM ba yun? Mga nakakailangan. 50k kasi yung price eh, kaya talagang paunahan talaga sila. Pero minsan lang.
Napakalaki ng price.
Oo. Pero minsan lang tong yung mga mananalo, minsan lang kayo pwede. Okay, next item na tayo. Move on tayo sa next item. Ayan, meron tayong bulb dito. Oh. Magnets. PLM na lang. Sumusobra na yung PLM ah.
Mga gipit ata. May malaki daw po yung pangangailangan.
Malaki pangangailangan eh. Ayun, nasagot naman marami naman na nakasagot ng question. So, reveal na natin. So, ang answer. So, ang dinidescribe pala scientist dun sa apat na picture ay si Michael Faraday. So, he discovered the principles of electromagnetic induction, diamagnetism, and electrolysis. Ngayon, facts naman tayo kay Michael Faraday. Ayun, yung rubber balloon pala, ang naka-discover yan si Michael Faraday. Parang ang ginawa niya, meron siyang dalawang rubber, tapos pinagdikit lang na yung edges, tapos naglagay lang siya may nilagay siyang compound, sulfur yata yun or flour doon sa loob para hindi magdikit yung dalawang side ng rubber. Ayun, tapos doon na invent na yung rubber balloon natin.
Yan, sabi daw ni Rosel,
right,
yung si Faraday daw is kambal niya daw po si Michael Faraday.
Grabe yun. Grabe technical natin.
Grabe.
Tapos na ako po. Tapos na bakit? Yun nga. Hindi ako nanalo. Ayun. Okay lang yun. Meron pa tayong yung sa Women of Science naman, pero sa March yun. Kaya kung gusto nyo manalo sa icebreaker, make sure na maka-attend kayo sa Women of Science naman natin sa March. Ayan, so yung next naman natin is for YouTube participants naman. Tapos na yung mga yung mga Zoom natin. O yun, nasabi ni Kuya Raymond. Yung mga nandito, ilan to? Adrian, bantayan mo tong bantayan mo yung participants, yung number niyan. 88.
Yan, may 88.
Dapat 88 hanggang matapos yun Wala ka alis siya. Pag bumabayad, alam na. Ayun, so yung mga YouTube participants natin. So ito yung mechanics. So same mechanics din for images. Tapos i-describe nyo rin yung nakalagay na jumbled words. Mga male scientists din sila. Tapos yung mga nagbigay ng contribution sa science. So kung sino mauna, syempre, yun din yung mananalo. 88 pa rin naman siya. 88 pa rin naman.
Yan.
So YouTube participants and YouTube facilitators. Ready na ba kayo? Ayan, start
start na tayo. Item number 1.
Ito.
Si Gorgon Bloom.
Gorgoneldum.
Sino pa? Yun, may Punnett Square pa. Tapos mga genetics.
O, tumaas daw yung views sa YouTube. Oh. YouTube pa is paano na lang, pa-note, sabi na lang sa amin kung may nanalo na sa YouTube. Oy, nag-87 sinisa na yun.
May lumilipat, bawal
May
yan.
lumipat na isa. Ayan, bumalik. Na siya, nahuli siya, 89. Bumaba kanina eh. Kaya lumilipat.
Ayun, sa mga Zoom participants, pwede rin naman kayo magsagot na rin or mag-type dito sa may chat box. Pero syempre, hindi naman na-acknowledge yung prize ninyo. Pero kung gusto nyo lang naman,
ipakita nyo lang na alam nyo. Assert dominance, May nanalo na ba sa YouTube? Balita sa YouTube yan. Meron na. Doon daw sila sa wala pa rin? Sa YouTube? Ay, meron daw. Sige,
ang answer sa my first item, I see. Ayan, si Gregor Mendel. He is the father of genetics nga. Tapos, parang, yun nga yung, kagaya ng nabanggit ko kanina, parang he developed the law of inheritance by observing the physical appearance of pea plants. Yung sa may Punnett Square. Pero hindi sa kanya naggaling yung name na Punnett Square. Pero, ayun. Yung law of inheritance nga. Sa kanya yun.
Kinaming facts naman yun, Kuya Adrian. Ayan, so, syempre, next item tayo pag ganyan. Ayan. Meron tayong, Cat's Cradle ba ito? May tawag dito, Adrian?
Yung, hindi ko rin po alam eh. Yan po yung bolang
basta yun. Tapos meron dito.
Ayan, pero yung second picture, ayun kilalang kilala. May apple na bumagsak sa ulo niya.
Tapos chalkboard na wala ka maintindihan sa nasulat. Tapos ito, ano ba itong last picture na to? Ano yan?
Ayun. Parang telescope din.
Telescope ba yan? Ay, oo. Parang may mga nabasa ka ako yan. May contribution din yata si ay, hindi ka ako nasabihin. Hindi ka ako nasabihin. And, YouTube. Balita. Meron na ba? 89 pa rin. Hindi. 89 lang yun, pero mga naka-laptop to eh. May lumipat sa phone yung iba eh. Pag may nakita kami na parehas yung name na nanalo sa Zoom sa YouTube. Kakasuha namin yun. Meron na? Sa daw? Sa Zoom daw.
Ayan, kung meron na daw po.
Meron na?
Nanalo. Yes.
Ayan, so, syempre, kilalang naman natin, Isaac Newton. So, he discovered the laws of gravity and motion and invented calculus. Yan. So, yung mga nagtitake ng calculus subject dyan, kilalang parang share tayo ng pinaka-hate na scientist. Yan, siya kasi nag-invent ng calculus. Tapos, ayon sa mga scientific na articles, in-invent na yung calculus habang nasa CR. Tama ba? Pandemic niya rin ginawa yung calculus. Tama ba, Adrian?
Yes, so may Black Plague ata yun.
Oo.
Panahon ng Black Plague.
Malay nyo ngayon yung mga ibang participants natin dito. Mamaya may ma-invento pa kayo. Wag naman sana. Ayun, so additional facts lang din kay Sir Isaac Newton. Kung alam ito ni iba pero para doon sa hindi pa nakakaalam. Dalawa kasi ang birthday ni Newton, 'di ba? Minsan may nakikita tayong post na binabati siya sa dalawang date. Kasi nung pinanganak daw siya, iba yung calendar na ginagamit pa noon. So, yung unang birthday niya yata is December 25. Yun yung date. Tapos, pero ang usual ng date ngayon, yung kung ang gagamitin natin is yung Gregorian calendar, which is yung ginagamit nating calendar ngayon, is January 4. So, ayun, di ba? Dalawa yung birthday niya. Imagine. Magkaiba. Wala lang, share ko lang. Mamagawa nyo. Tama ka na, joke. Next na.
Next item na po. Yan. Tungkol naman siya sa physics ulit.
Physics.
Energy again. Formula po ata.
Yung kanina kasi kay Einstein, E is equal to mc squared, di ba? O dito, iba naman yung formula para sa E. H nu naman daw. Or nu is equal to C over lambda. Ayan. So, ano ba to? May ano dito? May orbitals pa to? Oo.
Yan, kung wala pong nakakasagot sa YouTube participants, clue lang po, meron po siyang constant na pinangalan sa kanya.
O sa Zoom daw, mananalo 1,000, derived na daw yung formula. Hindi, joke lang. Mamaya may mag-derive talaga yan. Wala tayong budget. Pagalitan pa ako ng mga boss. Ay, meron na daw. Meron na daw. Wala na, mag-search na. Uy, wala na, tapos na.
Ang answer ay si Max Planck. He is one of the founders of quantum theory. And konting fact lang din about sa kanya, nakapagtapos nga siya ng doctoral degree at the age of 21. Okay, imagine that. Ang talino nila, no?
Tapos pag siguro nung nagtutalk sila, sabihin lang din nila, ay, mahina lang po ang student ng siguro sabi nitong mga scientists na to. Nakakaano na sila eh. Diba? Ayan, next. Last na to. Ay, tama ba ito na yung last? Ayan. Last. Ayan to. Meron daw ano to. Mga orbital na naman. Tapos may shell dito. May shell dito. Ayan.
Tapos may electron. Electron ba yung
N shell, M shell. Ay ano wrong spelling, wrong tayo May instances yata na ano. Kahit ako minsan na namamali ako sa name nila eh. So sino yan? Ano to? Ba't may shell dito ng logo ng gasolinahan? Siguro ano, isa siya sa founder ng ng shell na gasolinahan. Uy, nawala lang ako ng ano, tapos 83 na lang yung participants dito sa, 82 na lang.
Bumababa na.
Uy, facilitators, pag meron dyang pag may nanalo dyan sa Zoom, tapos nanalo din sa YouTube, kunin niyo yung contact information, isumbong natin sa nila, sa president nila. Pasuspend natin. And, meron na ba? Shell. Search nyo, founder ng Shell, kanyo. Yung naging founder.
Clue lang, ayun. Planetary model ata yung...
Ay, meron na pala. Minove na agad. Meron na siguro. Oxnard Dion. Ayan. Famous for Bohr model of the atom in which energy levels of electrons are discrete and that the electrons revolve in stable orbits. Ayan. So, syempre, last na chika natin kay Niels Bohr. Ito sa atin lang to Huwag yung sabihin. Hindi. Pero nung sa panahon ni Niels Bohr kasi, nung nalaman nung US government na nung nalaman nila yung Germany is parang meron silang kinokondak na project para makapag-produce ng atomic bomb. Kinontak nila si Niels Bohr. Sabi nila, Niels, ito. Nalaman namin na yung Germany gumagawa sila ng bomba. Tara, gawa din tayo. Hindi, totoo yun. Yun yung Manhattan Project. Ayun, kasali si Niels Bohr doon sa Manhattan Project ng US. Pero nuclear, plutonium tsaka uranium based yung ginagawa nilang mga bomba doon. Pero syempre, para maprotektahan si Niels Bohr, kasi syempre, nuclear bomb yun, tapos sila yung gagawa. Gumamit siya ng pen name. Diba? Yung mga bayani natin, si Rizal, diba? Ano ba yung kay Rizal? May pen name niya? Laong-laan yata. Or dalawa yata yun. Di masalang, depende din niya. Tapos meron pa yung sa Plaridel. Sino pa yung sa Plaridel? Si Del Pilar yata yun. Basta yun, si Del Pilar yun. So, ang ginamit na pen name ni Niels Bohr is Nicholas Baker. Yun yung ginamit niyang pen name nung sa Manhattan Project. Ayun, nung World War II to. Wala lang, share ko lang ulit. Sabi rin, ano masasabi nitong host na to? Sabi. Yun. Uy, sana naman, para naman wala na. Ay, meron pa!
May last item pa po. Ayan. Next, ayan. Yung second, may judge.
May
Tapos,
judge dyan.
May second picture na linear relationship ng volume tsaka pressure.
1/volume. So ito pressure din. Ito, volume. Ay, on 10 chinat to. On 10 ko lang daw. Sorry, napasobra. YouTube. Masama na loob ng mga nasa Zoom natin. Pero yun nga, sa Women of Science, attend din kayo kung gusto nyo bang manalo. sa mga hindi nakabawi, bawian niyo yung But sino ba yung nababasa ko kanina sa sa comment section kanina, ay sa may chat box kanina, yung PLM daw lagi nauuna. Sabi ni Ira, sa YT daw siya mananalo. Meron na ba? So ayun. Okay
na.
Bumabalik na yung mga participants, tumataas na eh. Galing
ayan,
YouTube.
tapos na yun.
Tapos na, bumabalik na sila.
Ang sagot is si Robert Boyle, famous for Boyle's law, which describes the relationship between pressure and volume of a gas. Isang fun fact na lang kasi mauubusan na po tayo ng time. He is known as the father of modern chemistry. Yan. I think that concludes our icebreaker na.
Tama. Yes. Ayan. So, okay. For the introduction naman ng second Superman natin today. He obtained his bachelor's degree in chemistry at Central Luzon State University. And from his 10 years and counting ng professional experience niya, naging part na siya ng Trust International Paper Corporation, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, and currently, nasa Philippine National Police siya. So with that, I am very delighted to introduce to everyone, Police Captain John Patrick de la Cruz. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. Permission to
share the screen. Yes, sir. Interview ulit tayo ba nagre-ready si sir?
Yan, sige. Hanap muna kami ulit ng mga interviewee. Kabahan na kayo, guys.
Ikaw, humanap pa dyan. Habang nag-share si sir.
I think from first year siya, si April Jane Salazar. Andito po ba?
Ayun, good afternoon, Miss April.
Good afternoon.
Ay, dito ba? Wait, ask to unmute natin si April. Hello po, Miss April. Hello po, Miss April.
Hello po.
Nag-echo.
Yan.
Adrian.
Ayan na ba, Kuya Jo?
No, interview mo na natin si April. Isa lang.
Yan. Ang question lang namin sa iyo, April, is kung ano ba yung expectation mo now that we are proceeding na sa may in the field of industry, specifically nga, knowing na si Sir ay galing sa hanay ng mga kapulisan. So ano yung expectation mo sa magiging discussion ni Sir?
Very looking forward po kasi ibang aspect po to ng chemistry. I'm guessing po especially po sa drugs, ganun po, related po sa substances. Kasi po ganun po yung focus ng chemistry and PDEA po.
Ayan, thank you, April Jane Salazar, for your answer. Police Captain de la Cruz, you may take the floor na po.
Okay, audio check po. Clear
Yes,
naman
po.
po yung...
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay. Kita naman ang slides ko, no?
Yes, sir, naka-share screen naman.
Okay. Brody Ashton, fictional writer, once wrote on her Everneath book, and I quote, heroes are made by the path they choose, not the power they are graced with. To the officers and members of CLSU Chemical Society, to the faculty and staff of Department of Chemistry, to the CLSU BS Chemistry Student Council, as well as to the partner organizations of the organization, the CLSU Chemical Society, to the online participants, viewers from YouTube, guests, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon. So I'd like to start my talk by defining heroes. So I was told that our theme for this year's CHEMSCIENTIA is all about superheroes. So heroes are human. They are not like what the movies portrayed them to be, like flying with capes and having extraordinary powers to fight the villains. Heroes can be any one of us. They can be your friend, your classmate, your parents, your professor, or even a stranger can be one. Heroes are empowered individuals. They live their purpose. They inspire others through their values, stories, and works. They share the light to those who are in the midst of the dark and make others become motivated and valued. Then heroes are rational. They make decisions that are beneficial to majority. They are sensible, and they make their decisions carefully by weighing both sides. The next is heroes are open-minded. They are not bounded. They do not restrict themselves to certain parameters or beliefs. Instead, they seek for possibilities. They are risk takers, but not gamblers. There is a fine line between risk takers and gamblers. Risk takers carefully studied the negative and positive outcome of their decision in a way that they are both acceptable. They are ready to whichever side of the coin will show. Whereas on the other hand, gamblers will just hop into something without even knowing what coin will be flipped. The next heroes are effortless. They are effortless in a way that they do not force to do something in order to become someone that they are not. They know themselves well in a way that everything they do just comes out naturally. And lastly, heroes are survivors. We are all survivors in our own way. Some of you survived the last semester, some survived COVID-19, some survived the removal exam, some just survived day by day. Just like any ordinary people, heroes have their own journey. For once, they also face on choosing which path to take and work in order to survive. Just like you, they are just normal human living to be empowered, rational, open-minded, effortless, and survivor. On that note, let me share to you my own journey on choosing the path of being a forensic chemist of the Philippine National Police. So when I was a kid, there is no specific profession that I wanted in my mind. Back then, I just see myself working in an office wearing suits. Not until I'm about to graduate high school and realized I wanted to become an architect. Yes, you heard it right. I wanted to become an architect. Back then, I loved the idea of planning a house, building a house. I even had my own floor plan of my dream house back then. I love drawing, sketching, and I excel on arts and crafts. I'm always fascinated to the structures, to the building structures of different countries. But unfortunately, fate didn't go in my favor of me being an architect. That time, we cannot afford to have my studies outside the province, and I did not actually have the opportunity to take entrance examination to other universities aside from CLSU. I don't know why, but from what I can remember, or at least from my own perspective, the idea going to college just sank in only on the latter part of my high school days. So yes, the idea of enrolling to Bachelor of Science in Chemistry has never been planned nor dreamed. So some of you might ask why I didn't take civil engineering instead, because architecture and civil engineering are somehow related to each other. That time, what's on my mind was if I take civil engineering as my course, in the future, the chances of working closely with an architect is very high. And that I don't want to happen, because working and having an architect as a coworker will just become a constant reminder of my frustration. That is why I chose a field where the probability of meeting them, of meeting my frustration, will not exist. Yes, I am one of those that is not actually into chemistry going to college, but later on, I was able to learn to appreciate the course. It was not easy, of course, with physical chemistry, analytical chemistry, organic chemistry, and all others. For sure, it was never that easy. It may sound even harder because on the first place, my dream was not to become a chemist. But I always believe that there's always a reason for everything. There's always a reason why you are in a certain path. There is a reason why you ended up studying chemistry as a course. Chosen or not, there is a reason for everything. All you have to do is to find that specific reason and serve its purpose. You might not find it today, but for sure, time will come and you will realize why. So I have to tell you my backstory in order for you to realize that not everything we plan in our lives can be easily achieved. Yes, planning is indeed great, but working on it is another story. I landed my first job on a private manufacturing company, November 2012, after I passed the boards on September 2012. Unlike others, I really don't have specific path to take in my mind. At least on our time, we are not that fortunate to have this kind of platform where you can hear the stories of different professions in chemistry. So back then, my goal is just to land a job and earn some money. And I think this is normal for most. There are only few of us who have actually a specific job in their minds and are really eager to pursue after passing the boards. Those individuals are those that have planned and worked hard to achieve their plans. But most, I think, and I think many can relate, during our college days, our only plan is to pass our subjects, to pass physical chemistry, right? We are very occupied on planning how to figure out those phase diagrams, where in fact, on our freshman years, we only introduced to Venn diagrams. So from Venn diagrams to phase diagrams, from quadratic equations to differential equations. So how on earth can we focus? How on earth can we plan for our future? That is why you're very fortunate today that we already have this platform where you can have a glimpse of your future self, where you can hear stories that might inspire you to become one. Back on my first job, it is a manufacturing company that manufactures paper out of recycled papers. So my first week was literally tearing pieces of recycled papers. And I was like, I didn't study for 4 years in college just to tear recycled papers. But believe it or not, it is part of the job and I get used to it. My stint with manufacturing company taught me a lot. It may be not on the technical side where we acquire knowledge on different instruments and equipment, but it is more on building our personality. They value the personality development of their employee. They give trainings that enhances the personality and work behavior. At first, of course, I was expecting to learn different scientific procedures, probably learn to operate different equipment, but the examination and equipment are limited only to the sample that they cater. In their case, it is a water sample and the recycled papers. I seek for technical growth later on. I even questioned their several trainings involving character development, work behavior, and other stuffs that are not related into chemistry. So after a year, that was December 2013, I took my chance with Philippine National Police. I passed the qualifying exam and right there and then, I passed my resignation letter. Unfortunately, my application with PNP didn't go well as planned. I failed one of the examinations and was totally upset since I already passed my resignation letter and was just actually rendering my last few days with them. So from December 2013 to March 2014, I didn't stop applying for a new job. I applied to different companies and believe it or not, I also applied once for a BPO company. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against with BPO companies nor to the licensed individuals resorting to BPO companies, but just to make a point that during that time, I was that eager to have a job. So unfortunately, most of the companies I applied for offer way lesser salary compared to my previous job. So let us be honest here. On the first few years of our career, or at least on the first few years after we graduated and passed the boards, one of the few things we consider on a job is the salary. We studied hard for at least 4 years and we wanted a job that pays well in a way that it can return what our families have invested in. But unfortunately, we are one of those professionals that are underpaid. Come to think of the demand and supply theory. We all know that there are only few licensed chemists in the Philippines out in the market, and yet the salary we get doesn't coincide with our numbers. Well, at least for most, I don't generalize all the private companies, but for most at least. And there are some exceptions with this, but for most, even today, as I scroll to the job hiring website, I can still see companies offering way too low for a licensed chemist. I know this is a career talk where I was supposed to give inspiration and motivation. And I don't think I am the right person to talk about these things because I am just on my early to mid stage of my career. But I believe that it is not all getting inspired and be motivated by the success stories of others that matters. We are too blinded by the success stories of others where we tend to become more frustrated on trying to achieve what they have achieved. We tend to exhaust our efforts fitting into the shoes of others that we forget that we have our own shoes to begin with. Your journey will not be invalidated by the detours you took going to your desired path. I too have my own detours before serving the Philippine National Police. I have a short stint in the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources for I think about 3 months. I was also able to serve the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency for about almost 4 years before I finally got into the PNP workforce. Those detours are not just temporary paths. They are destined paths where I was able to acquire a lot of experience, a lot of learnings and memories. Those things, the detours, made us who we are today. So enough of the flashbacks, and let us proceed to the work of a forensic chemist. But before that, let me first present you a short audiovisual presentation of the forensic group of Philippine National Police. So forensic group, formerly known as crime laboratory group. So pinalitan na po yung crime laboratory into forensic group. So by the way, I am a member of forensic group of the Philippine National Police. So first, let me present to you a short AVP regarding our unit. Visible naman na yung audio AVP natin, moderator.
Yes po sir, nakashare naman po. Ay, yung audio po yata sir is wala. Tama ba Adrian? Wala.
Yes, partner, wala po yung audio.
Yo.
Okay na? Meron na?
Wala pa rin ba? Wala pa rin po sir.
Wala pa din.
Ayun ba may yung ba
Meron
yun? Yes sir, meron naman na po.
Okay.
Pero hindi po siya ganoon kaano. Parang smooth na.
Sa matalitan, walang justisya. Ang kriminal, kayang sobrang hindi nalalabas. Pero ibahin nyo kami dito sa PNP Crime Lab. Para sa amin, the truth always prevails. Dahil wala kaming kriminal. Ang PNP Crime Lab at ang ibang sa justisya. Binuo ang PNP Crime Lab na may pangunahing layuning magsagawa ng iba't ibang services at scientific investigations. Dynamic and highly motivated technicals na ang ating namin. Hindi lamang sa lahat ng sangay ng PNP, kundi pati na rin sa iba pang government agencies at higit sa lahat sa publiko. Through fieldwork, research at scene of the crime operations at gamit ang state-of-the-art technology at human expertise, ginagampanan ng PNP Crime Lab ang mandatong ito for more than 15 years. Narito ang aming frontline services. Human ID. Analysis division. Crime solver ng grupo na walang ebidensyang palalampasin. SOCO o Scene of Crime Operations. Ang kakampi ng katotohanan. Polygraph Division. With intelligence ng grupo na walang fingerprint identification individual. Kakampi ng mga nabiktima at pinatid, ang Medico-Legal Division. As ng walang tax sa Physical Identification Division. Question Document Examination Division. Ang hustisya ang mangingibabaw sa tulong ng Forensic Photography Division. Siyensya sa iba't ibang pagsusuri, eksaminasyon kemikal, natutukoy ng Chemistry Division ang katotohanan at mga taong ulong sa droga. Bawat bala, walang kawala sa Firearms Identification Division. Kaming lahat ang sandigan ng PNP, ng gobyerno, at ng lahat ng Pilipino sa pagligtas ng mga krimen sa bansa. Para sa amin, mahalaga ang integrity, credibility, at accuracy. Sa lahat ng oras, 100% ang handang bigay. Masusi na analisa ang lahat, walang nangis, walang pagpiling sa kahit ano o stringent work standards na aming gabay. At sa kagitan ng pagkakapangan ng bawat isa sa namin sa PNP crime, marami rin solvang kaso ang isulong na forensic advancements sa Pilipinas. Kaya naman, kagulat-gulat sa PNP, ang crime lab, ang unang unit ng ISO 9001 certification noong 2006. Bukod pa ito sa iba pang recognition na aking gaya na isa ka rin mag-meeting ng forensic na may expertise sa mga sumusunod na huwag magpatubiling mag-apply sa aming tanggapan. Tingnan namin ang pangatapos o ang inyong PNP crime laboratory. Ang bigo sa justisya.
Okay. As you can see on the AVP, forensic group of the Philippine National Police is one of the national support units of the organization. So we are the technical arm of the PNP, where we cater technical assistance to different operating units. So as seen on the AVP, the PNP forensic group consists of 9 different divisions. So one of those is chemistry division, where we forensic chemists belong. So the forensic chemists of the Philippine National Police have the following responsibilities. So first, we conduct qualitative and quantitative examination and determination of dangerous drugs, volatile substance, and drug paraphernalia. We also conduct examination of explosives and explosive ingredients. We conduct examination on firearms and paraffin cast for the presence of gunpowder nitrates. We also conduct chemico-toxicological examination of human internal organs, gastric contents, blood, water, and food sample and other substances. We conduct examination of fake products in case of unfair trade competition. We also conduct blood alcohol determination. We examine urine and other body fluids for the presence of dangerous drugs. We also conduct researches related to the case being examined. We give lectures on forensic chemistry and toxicology to police, military training centers, investigative units, and various schools and universities. We also testify and give our expert opinion in court. We respond to queries of all investigative units and render expert opinion regarding matters related to the application of chemical principle for the purposes of assisting investigators in developing investigative leads. And we also conduct field laboratory works and clandestine laboratory investigation. So aside from those, we forensic chemists also serve as a team leader during scene of the crime operations, or most commonly known as SOCO. Of all those duties and responsibilities, the examination of seized drugs and SOCO team leader are the most common function of forensic chemists. So working with forensics has been both challenging and fulfilling. Back then, during my time in private company, the last stage of our examination was to issue a technical report. Let's say doing a quality control. So we conduct examination and we issue technical report. So that's how I think most testing laboratory works, or at least for testing laboratories, because research laboratories is another story. So with PNP, the work of forensic chemist doesn't end by the issuance of technical report. So with PNP, later on, the court will summon us to defend whatever result that we issue, whatever report that we issue. And the most challenging part is that we have to defend our results in a way that non-chemist individuals would understand. And we know how difficult chemistry is. So if ever you have an opportunity to witness a court proceeding or a court hearing where forensic chemist is one of the witnesses or forensic chemist is giving his or her testimony, do not be surprised if the forensic chemist doesn't talk in a technical way. So we're trying ourselves to relate, to explain to the court in the most easiest way possible. So aside from the examination of seized drugs, seized dangerous drugs and paraphernalia, forensic chemists also act as SOCO team leaders. So scene of the crime operations, or the SOCO, is a forensic procedure performed by trained personnel of the PNP Forensic Group, SOCO team, through scientific methods of investigation for the purpose of preserving the crime scene, gathering information, documentation, collection, and examination of all physical evidence and other forensic evidence that can be gathered or that can be collected on the crime scene. So I remember my first SOCO case involving 3 police officers, one deceased, one injured, and the other one was the perpetrator. It really feels different seeing dead bodies on the ground. So with this function of forensic chemists, we are able to interact with the community. We got to see different stories, witness mourning families crying at the crime scene, just like we seen on the movies. It feels weird at first, but later on I get used to it. Having this kind of job makes me realize that nothing is permanent in this world. I've seen several dead bodies with different stories, with different professions, with different journey. All we can do is to deliver quality service through our expertise as forensic chemists to seek for the truth and justice. Choosing which path to take should not be that hard. Let yourselves explore and expose to different opportunities. The opportunities of a chemist are endless. You just have to find one that really fits your skill and your personality. Don't bound yourself to the dream that you formulated on your mind, for there are lots of opportunities and possibilities in the real world. When the time comes, and I'm sure it will, that you reach your dream job, stay human, be grounded. When the time comes that you have subordinate to handle, empower them, bring out the best in them, and make them valued and motivated. When the time comes, the company needs your decision-making, be rational. Consider the welfare of your people. When the time comes, you're having trouble with people, be open-minded. Try to understand even the hardest one. When the time comes, your boss is pressuring you to change your examination result in favor of something else. Stay effortless. Do not exert effort to something that doesn't define who you are. And lastly, when the time comes on taking the first step of your chosen path, be a survivor. Discover your own spider that will bite you to your success. Build your own iron suits that will protect you to your flight towards greater heights. Overcome your own kryptonite. Be the hero of your own journey. Thank you and good afternoon.
Yan, thank you very much, sir. Ang daming inspirational messages na sinabi ni sir. Una, yung about nga dun sa may hero, na lahat nga tayo ay may kakayanang maging hero by empowering other people, having rational mind, and being open-minded. Tapos, nabanggit din ni sir na there is always a reason for everything, na kahit di niya talaga gusto or di niya talaga first choice ang chemistry, ipinagpatuloy niya pa rin because of practicality, na marahil marami sa atin ang nakaka-relate nitong college. At some point, you do really need to force yourself nga to love what is given to you. Sa kabilang banda naman, talaga nga naman ang field of industry ay very exciting and thrilling, especially nga yung dun sa may field of forensic. Actually, one of my choices din talaga if ever na graduate ako ay yung pumasok nga sa may field of forensic. Ang cool lang na tumutulong na makadiscover ng truth by applying the knowledge we have learned during college years. And so that, ayun po, I hope marami tayong natutunan sa may talk ni Police Captain de la Cruz. Ngayon naman po, tumungo naman po tayo sa question and answer portion. Yon, the floor is now open for everyone who has any questions or clarifications regarding to the discussions of Police Captain de la Cruz. You can type in your questions at the chat box and we will read them out for you. Kung nahihiya naman po kayo, you can directly message us, ako po or si Kuya Joe.
The same goes with the YouTube participants. Pwede nilang i-comment doon yung question nila. Tapos isi-send nung facilitator dito. Questions, guys. Ikaw, Adrian, baka may question ka, di ba, sa amin? Since nabanggit mo naman na interested ka rin. Pero kahit ako rin, interested din talaga akong itry yung sa forensics.
Actually, eto nga, meron nga akong question po for Police Captain.
Ayun, sir, may tanong
question
po si
number 1 po is, can you explain po yung process ng application para makapasok sa PNP as a licensed chemist po?
So recently meron tayong hiring pero parang ongoing na. So basically magdadaan lang tayo with the series of examination. So first is the qualifying examination where magte-take tayo ng exam. So basic chemistry questions lang naman, and then after that meron tayong physical and agility test where magko-conduct tayo ng mga different exercises, mga push-up, sit-ups, then 3-kilometer run. So i-evaluate nila kung fit ka ba with the work of PNP. Then after the agility test, meron din tayong neuro wherein magte-test tayo ng psychiatric examination. And then sa neuro, bale dalawang part yon. One is the oral part and the written examination. Then after the psychiatric examination, we have medical examination. So i-test yung physical body natin with medical. And then after that, I believe it's the final interview and then drug test. So medyo madami lang process, pero during our time medyo tumagal yung process. Siguro parang umabot ng almost a year before kami na-hire, but recently parang pinabilis na nila yung hiring, umaabot na lang ng mga 1 to 2 weeks yung process bago nila ilabas yung final result. So that's the application process for forensic group of the PNP.
Ayan, thank you, sir. So ayun, sa mga participants na nagbabalak na pumasok sa forensics team, ayun daw yung process pag mag-a-apply. Thank you, sir. And next question po is from TUPCS, from Carl Andre. Dito po, nakalagay po sa chat box. Ang tanong po niya, sabi po niya, I'm a lab tech student and available or pwede po ba kami mag-forensic in the future?
Lab tech, chemistry technician, yun ba yun?
Wait lang. Mr.
Chemical-
Carl Andre, pwede po
For,
ba
for
na?
lab technician.
Ayun, yes daw po.
Ang requirement kasi ni PNP is licensed chemist. So, hindi pa niya ina-allow yung mga licensed chemical technician as of now. For the NAPOLCOM examination, optional naman siya, although hindi na siya nire-require sa ating mga forensic chemists, mga technical officers like doctors, lawyers, and other technical officers. So, hindi na natin kailangan mag-take ng NAPOLCOM examination to qualify sa application. So, bale pumapasok kasi tayo sa PNP as technical officers. So, ang tawag sa kanya is lateral entry. So, ang entry level natin or ang entry position natin once na ma-hire tayo is police lieutenant kaagad. So, yung mga kinakailangan kasi ng NAPOLCOM is yung mga nag-a-apply sa mga as patrolman or yung mga PO1. So, with us na technical officers, may privilege tayo na skip na natin yung part ng NAPOLCOM examination.
Yes, thank you po, sir. Sir, clarification lang po. Licensed chemist po, no, yung mga hindi po parang priority ang chemical technicians na board pa, sir.
Yes, as of now, licensed chemist pa lang yung nandun sa qualification natin.
Yes po, sir. So, may follow-up question po yung kanina. Ano daw po yung, may specific daw po ba na height requirements magpapasok po?
With height requirement, 5'2" sa female, 5'4" sa male. But meron tayong exceptions with yung may mga waiver, height waiver ng mga member ng indigenous group. So, kino-consider din yun ni PNP.
Ayun, yes. Ayun, yun yung height requirements.
Other question naman po, sir, may nag-directly message po sa akin. Would you recommend taking a MS degree or another 4-year course daw po for forensic sciences?
I would suggest na go for the masteral degree na lang rather than taking, kasi yung forensic science natin is bachelor degree pa lang dito sa the Philippines, and sadly wala tayong masteral degree ng forensic science dito sa Philippines. So I would suggest na not to take another course but resort to masteral degree na lang.
Yan, thank you po, sir.
Nasagot na ba ito kanina, Aid? Ito po, sir, pala. Isang follow-up question po ito, hindi ko yata nabanggit. Yun po, after nga po na maging licensed chemist na, do we have to take extra units para po ba to, kung gusto namin mag-enter ng PNP, or okay na po yung units na na-take namin nung 4 years?
Recently, meron silang nilabas na guidelines na kailangan ng 1 to 2 years experience sa practice ng chemistry. Dati kasi kahit fresh graduate pwedeng mag-apply, but nitong nakaraan lang nirevise nila yung guidelines. So
yes, sir.
1 to 2 years ng practice ng chemistry sa at least sa kahit anong company.
So after po ng 4 years, graduate, then pumasa, 1 to 2 years na po na experience.
Yes.
Yes. Ayun po, next question po, sir, from ito po kay Ma'am Sara Joy del Rosario po. Isa po siyang faculty po sa Department of Chemistry sa CLSU. Sabi po niya, good afternoon, sir. May I ask lang po kung anong age limit ang ina-accept? And for female po, qualified pa din po ba if married na? Yung big question po.
With the age requirement, I think nasa 30 ang allowed, but pinapayagan kasi sa atin yung more than 30 given na meron siyang age waiver. So, with regards to the married female naman, okay lang as long as hindi po tayo nag-give birth prior to your application at least a year.
Ayun, thank you, sir. Sabi po ni ma'am. How about dyan, Adrian? May question pa ba yan sa end mo?
Wala na ata, partner.
And so I think yun na yung last question, ano. So ayun, kung sir, kapag feel ko kasi may mga ibang question pa yung ibang participants natin. Saan po ba sila pwede pang, or kung ano po pwede po mahingi parang contact information, email nyo po kung may follow-up questions po sila na gusto pang itanong.
Ibigay ko na lang yung email ko dito sa chat
Yes,
box.
sige, sir. Ayan. Guys, yung email daw ni sir. Kung may mga questions pa kayo. Hindi kasi ma-accommodate din ni sir yung questions ng lahat. Baka lang may questions in mind kayo, mamayang gabi, gano'n, biglang iniisip nyo pala, gusto nyo pumasok sa forensic team.
Direct message pala. Everyone.
Ayan. Pati rin kay sir, kay Doc Ticonato kanina, na binanggit naman ni sir yung yung email ni Sir Marlon. Kung may questions naman kayo, nyari, maging interested din kayo sa solid state, you can ask questions naman sa kanya. Ito. Ayan, ito yung email ni Sir John Patrick.
Yung yung latest typo yung yung
Ay, sige, sir. Ayun, kay Sir Marlon, sir, pwede din po bang mahingi po pa-type in po sa chat box yung. Ayun, kay sir naman. Ayun, for those na interested syempre sa academy, specifically ito nga yung kung na-inspire din kayo ni sir na maging interested sa solid state. Ayan, ito yung emails nila. Ayan, thank you po Sir Marlon and Sir John Patrick. And so I think that concludes the question and answer portion. So dumako naman tayo sa awarding of certificate. And so let me read the citation. So CLSU Chemical Society in cooperation with CLSU BS Chemistry Student Council. So this certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to Police Captain John Patrick de la Cruz for imparting his knowledge and valuable experiences during the CHEMSCIENTIA, a talk about journey featuring the men of science held on the 22nd day of October 2022 at Central Luzon State University. Signed, Ms. Prima Rose de la Cruz, the CLSU Chemical Society President, Ms. Helen Joyce de la Cruz, the CLSU BS Chemistry Student Council President, Dr. Redel Gutierrez, the CLSU Chemical Society Advisor, and Mr. Charleo Zapanda, the CLSU BS Chemistry.
Yan, thank you very much po Sir Police Captain de la Cruz. Ngayon naman po, may I request everyone to open their cameras po to take our photo opportunity. Again, we are requesting everyone po. Sal, na lang. Bilang na lang.
Sa first page po muna. 1, 2, 3. Ayan po, may mga nag-open pa po ng cam. 1, 2, 3.
Nawalan ng kuryente dito.
Ayan po, on the second page po dahil. 1, 2, 3. Sa baba. 1, 2, 3. Thank you po.
Ayan, nawalan ng internet dito, Adrian. Yung hindi pa nawalan ng kuryente.
Ay, nawalan ka partner ng kuryente.
Oo, nakabalik lang. Oh, grabe. Ito talaga hirap sa mga pag ganito mga online events, yung mga technical difficulties, especially sa end sa host, lalo na pag mag-isa yung host, tapos nawala ng kuryente, di ba? Grabe yung hassle. Ayan, so tapos na pala yung photo opportunity. Ayun guys, like I've said nung una kanina, tawag dito, icebreaker winners po muna tayo. Ayun, so ito yung mga nanalo kanina sa ginawa nating icebreaker. So, una is yung sa Zoom participants.
Yan, sila Ken Pagaduan from CLSU, Maria Melisa Magcale from CLSU, Kim Velasco from CLSU, Angeline C. Artieda from TUP Manila, and Maria Sofia del Rosario from CLSU.
Puro sabi kanina, puro PLM yung ano. Puro CLSU na, talagang grabe to mga taga CLSU na to. Oh, CLSU na naman dito. Yung paghahalataan mga CLSU. Yan, so ito naman po yung sa YouTube winners natin. Si Miss Lena Nag-Oosa from CLSU, Mark Jonathan Mata from CLSU, Vince Tatad from UST, Ethan Adoptante from CLSU, and Ira Dobla from CLSU. Mga taga CLSU na to. Grabe. Ayun, so yung mga, kung nandito yung name nyo sa winners natin sa icebreaker, either sa YouTube or sa Zoom, kindly contact na lang yung CLSU Chemical Society page. Doon na lang isend yung contact information nyo para ma-send namin yung prize. Ayun. Next, yung ano naman, dumakon tayo sa may code number 2. Di ba sabi ko kanina, sa evaluation form is need doon na i-input niyo yung codes na sasabihin namin. So, yung code number 2 is Crime Lab. Ayan. Facilitators. Ayan. So, yun yung ano kanina. Ayan. Yung sa una kanina, yung code number 1, yung solid state. Tapos yung code number 2 is Crime Lab. So, sa eval form is kailangan yan. And I think na ano naman lahat yan. Okay. Now, to formally close this event, may I call on Mr. Gil Felicissimo S. Cabrera, the co-advisor of the CLSU Chemical Society.
Okay. Am I loud and clear?
Yes, sir. Audible po.
Okay. So, first and foremost, I would like to thank our speakers, Dr. Marlon Ticonato from UP and Police Captain John Patrick de la Cruz from PNP. Also, I would like to thank Sir Charleo Zapanta for the opening remarks, and also to our participants from various universities and from our students in CLSU in general. So, itong activity na to is super ganda to open the minds of our aspiring new generation of chemists, especially sa mga first years dito. Actually, nakikita ko yung mga students ko nandito. So, hopefully, the activity inspired all of us to remain focused in our careers, especially building our careers, especially as early as being a student. So, I would like to commend also the CLSU Chemical Society and the Bachelor of Science in Chemistry Council in spearheading this activity, and also to the partner organizations. So one last piece of advice, especially to students, is to put your heart into doing what you like, especially sa ating course. Alam naman natin na hindi ito ganun kadali. So yun lang. So good afternoon po sa ating lahat, and salamat po sa lahat ng dumalo.
Thank you po, Sir Hill, for the closing remark.
Grabe. Nasa end na pala tayo nasa end part na pala tayo ng webinar partner.
Oo nga, partner. Ayan po, reminder lang po ulit before we leave po. We are reminding everyone to fill up the evaluation form flashed on the screen, and it will be provided nga rin po sa my chat box. By filling up this form po, you will get an e-certificate on this webinar.
Yes. Ayun. Sa mga pag kinlik nyo guys yung evaluation link na yan, doon may allotted na space doon kung saan ilalagay nyo yung dalawang codes na sinabi namin kanina. Ayun, kailangan kasi yun para magkaroon kayo nung e-certificate for this online event. Yan, okay. So next. So now that we've reached the end of this webinar, allow us to thank the following organizations. So this event is in collaboration with the CLSU BS Chemistry Student Council, in partnership with the CLSU CHSI Kabahay Student Government, the PLM Chemical Society, the TUP Chemical Society, and the CLSU Biology Supreme Student Council.
And of course, special thanks to CLSU Psychological Society, CLSU Society for the Advancement of Veterinary Education and Research, Chemistry Society of Mapua, Philippine Association of Chemistry Students Incorporated, Cagayan State University Chemical Society, Chemical Science Society, PNU Chemical Society, PUP Chemical Society, and the CLSU Environmental Science Student Council.
And so this event is brought to you by the CLSU College of Agriculture Student Government and the CLSU Veterinary Circle for 10.
Yan, maraming pong salamat sa mga nakinig. Again, this has been your host. I am Adrian Cuartero.
And I am Joffrey Patungan, now signing off. Thank you for attending, guys. See you sa mga future events namin, especially yung second part nito, yung sa Women of Science. Sa March yun, guys. So I hope magkita-kita ulit tayo sa March 2023.
Ayan, see you guys.
Ayun. Again, thank you po sa mga speakers natin, Sir Marlon and Sir John Patrick.
Simula'y di lubos maunawaan kung anong magiging bukas. Sa mga mata'y hindi maunawaan kung saan patungo itong landas, kung saan patungo itong landas. Tayo'y mga bilanggo ng tahanan, sakit ay nariyan lang sa lansangan. Pagkaaral may pahirapan, tayo'y lalaban para sa kinabukasan. Manalik kang masisilayan, muli ang sintang pamantasan na kung saan ay nahuhubog ang ating kalaman. Laban, bangon, pusong silesyuhan, tayong mag-aral, magsamaan, magbayanihan. Laban, bangon, pusong silesyuhan, nasa ating kamay, tunay na kapangyarihan. Pag-iisa ng mga pusong palaban. Ngiti sa ating labi ay muling masisilayan. Kasamang pamantasan na sa ating gumagabay, tayo'y magpupunyi, isisigaw ang tagumpay. Tayo na.
Ilang panahon ng ligaya, ngunit tayong lahat ay magsasama. Pag-ibigkan ng mga mirasol ay makikita, sabay ng pagkusbong nila'y pag-asa.
Manalig kang masisilayan, muli ang sintang pamantasan na kung saan ay nahubog ang ating kaalaman. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan, tayong mag-aral, magsamaan, magbayanihan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan, nasa ating kamay, tunay na kapangyarihan. Pag-iisa ng mga pusong palaban, ngiti sa ating labi ay muling masisilayan. Kasamang pamantasan na sa ating gumagabay, tayo'y magpupunyi, sisigaw ang tagumpay. Wanag ay magningas, ikaw ang lakas. Ang pangarap ko'y tataas, tuloy ang bukas. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan, tayong mag-aral, magsama at magbayanihan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan, nasa ating kamay, tunay na kapangyarihan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan, tayong mag-aral, magsama at magbayanihan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan, nasa ating kamay, tunay na kapangyarihan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan. Bangon, pusong sinesyuhan, tayong mag-aral, magsama at magbayanihan. Laban, bangon, pusong sinesyuhan, nasa ating kamay,